All right, I believe it is time. Okay, great. And we are all here. Thank you so much. We are now going to call our meeting to order. And we will have 1.2 Pledge of Allegiance, and it is going to be by Hunt Elementary School, 4th and 5th grade CAPS cheerleaders.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Very good. And again, we send a huge thank you and shout out to them. They're just getting better and better, and we appreciate them so much. All right, we are now at 1.3, approval of the agenda.
Moved.
Second.
It's been moved and second, and so we will vote momentarily. I don't see it on my screen, Karen, either. Okay, it just came up. All right, motion carried. And as we're moving into 1.4, I want to just say to the board, I came a little earlier, so I probably should have said this at the beginning. As you'll see, we have lights here, and that we have a board over here, so we will know. I know Dr. White is having too much fun with it over here because he cleared it all. But and most importantly, as we are updating, because we used to have, they were very small. They were smaller lights for number one. However, in the interest of making it tailored, especially for San Bernardino City Unified School District, they also built this where we can see each of your names when it comes up. So we'll know when your name comes up in the order, and then we will click you and you go green, and it means you are speaking. And then when you're done speaking, you go off. And then when everybody's done, it's a clear. So we want to thank them, thank the team so much for putting that extra piece in there for us.
Right there.
Oh, is he? Okay, there you are. Thank you so much. He's over here. Yeah. Great job.
And it took us a while because they had to build it from scratch.
Yeah, from scratch.
They
So
built it from scratch.
tailored for
Wow.
us. So this will be in the archives.
It took a while, but very cool. We were pushing them a little bit, but they got it done.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. And then you'll also see that we have a timer. We can see the timer, and then on the when the person is speaking is also a timer there for them as well. So we had similar to this prior, but it's back. Okay, so now without further ado, Dr. Flores, are you ready? She is bringing our inspirational message tonight by Dr. Flores. No, I already did it. I sure did.
Tonight, to me, stories matter. So I'm going to share a story with you, and it's about my grandmother. And we all have grandmothers and that help raise us to form our values, our principles, to live by. And my grandmother story I wrote in a little book. And it's called Es mejor dar que recibir y no esperar recompensa. It is better to give than receive and not expect anything in return. That, in honor of Latino History Month, I want to share because it's a tradition in our culture that goes down many, many centuries in our culture. And it's handed down to all of us. So I will read it, and are they translating? I'll have to do it in English. I'll do it in Spanish, because it's written in Spanish, and then I'll translate it. Cuando yo era niña, mi abuelita Doña Eusebia López siempre me cuidaba. When I was a little girl, my grandmother, Doña Eusebia López, always took care of me. Yo me sentía muy contenta en su casa. I loved being in her house. Cada vez que la visitaba me pedía que llevara algo a sus vecinos. Every time I visited, she would ask me to go take something to her neighbors. My grandmother, mi abuelita arreglaba una canasta de comida. Sometimes she would arrange a basket of fruit, and she would say, Bárbara, por favor, lleva esta canasta a la casa de la Puerta Azul. Bárbara, please take this basket of food to the house that has the blue door. Y recuerdo que no debes de tocar la puerta. And remember, don't knock on the door. Solo deja la canasta afuera, me decía mi abuelita. Just leave the basket, outside, and she would tell me. Then on another occasion, she would, ask me to take a box of clothes. Bárbara, por favor, lleva la caja a la casa de la Puerta Roja. Barbara, please take it to the red door. And remember, do not knock. Just leave it there, she would say. And then sometimes she would arrange, a bag of blankets or, warm things for people. And she would say, por favor, lleva esta bolsa a la casa de la Puerta María. Take it to the yellow door. And yes, remember not to knock on the door. Just leave it outside, she would tell me. Un día mi abuelita y yo estábamos sembrando flores y le pregunté a ella. One day she and I were planting flowers and I asked her, ¿por qué no debo tocar la puerta cuando les llevo cosas a los vecinos? Why am I not supposed to knock on the door when I take things to your neighbors? If I don't knock, no van a saber, they're not going to know quién les manda la comida, la ropa, o las cobijas. They're not going to know who sent them the food, the clothes, or the blankets. And she would repeat, es mejor dar que recibir y no esperar recompensa. It's better to give than to receive and not expect anything in return. No importa que la gente sepa quién les manda las cosas. It's not important that people know who sent them the things. Lo que importa es ayudar a la gente. What's important is to help people, to help anyone in need. That's what's real important. And there's more to the story, but I'll stop there. And today, because we are so in need, all of us, we're enduring a crisis. We're enduring a pandemic. We're enduring so many traumas that, in our hearts, we need to, focus on that. We need to, be our neighbor's protector, our family's protector, our colleagues' protector, our children's protectors, and be kind to each other and loving to each other. So that is my inspiration for tonight. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Flores. Okay, Ms. Rosales Medina,
Seen it
did
out.
you do it?
This is
Okay,
great.
There, you're green.
I just wanted to say that, Dr. Flores, thank you for sharing that because it is truly, that's how I also grew up in giving without expecting anything in return. And I know that my family would always say, Dios nos bendice, so God would always bless you when you do things that come from your heart. So that was more of a reasoning, Dios nos bendice.
Kindness and love is what we all need to share with each other.
Thank you again. All right, I think you got it. Good job. Okay. All right, we're now moving to special presentations and recognition. Starting with 2.1, I'm going to start this week to my right. So Dr. Flores, you'll be 2.1, and Ms. Rosales Medina, 2.2. Mr. Tillman, prepare for 2.3, and then we'll bring it back this way for 2.4.
Thank you, Madam President. Whereas the Southern California region has been home to many generations of Native peoples with distinct cultures and traditions, and whereas Native American Day began in California in 1939, when Governor Colbert Olson dedicated October 1st as Indian Day, and in 1968, California tribal leaders and Governor Ronald Reagan declared the fourth Friday of September as California Indian Day. And whereas now known as California Native American Day, a day to honor the historic and cultural contributions of Native Americans and celebrated by California's 107 federally recognized Indian tribes in the state of California. And whereas educational leaders throughout the region are encouraged to involve themselves and their schools in a statewide focus on improving the education provided to our children about the local indigenous tribes of Southern California. Therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Education of the San Bernardino City Unified School District declares September 24th, 2021 California Native American Day and encourages all educators to commemorate this day with appropriate instructional activities. So moved.
Second.
All right, it's been moved in second. If there is no discussion, we will prepare to vote. Thank you. Motion carried. 2.2, Ms. Rosales Medina.
2.2, resolution declaring California Clean Air Day. Whereas it is vital that San Bernardino City Unified School District protect the health and well-being of children who are the future of our community, and whereas air pollution contributes to higher rates of cancer and heart disease and lung disease, which adversely affect health, whereas individual actions such as not idling vehicles, walking or biking to work, carpooling, and not burning hazardous or inappropriate materials such as painted or treated wood can directly improve air quality in our region. Therefore, be it resolved that the San Bernardino City Unified School District declares October 6, 2021 as California Clean Air Day and encourages all schools and offices to participate in activities that promote clean air for all and raise awareness of this detrimental effects of the air pollution.
So moved.
All right, it's been moved in second. If there's no discussion, then we will take the vote. Motion carried. Thank you. 2.3, Mr. Tillman.
Resolution recognizing October as National Bullying Prevention Month. Whereas October is National Bullying Prevention Month, a time to raise awareness of bullying, which can include verbal, physical, and cyberbullying. And whereas almost 30% of youth in the United States are estimated to be involved in bullying yearly, either as a bully or a victim, and an estimated 160,000 students in kindergarten through 12th grade miss school for fear of being bullied. Therefore, be it resolved that the San Bernardino City Unified School District will work to develop, implement, and monitor policies and programs that foster a positive school climate. And be it further resolved that the Board of Education proclaims its commitment to the education about and prevention of bullying, exploring solutions, and offering support to students in recognizing October as National Bullying Prevention Month. So moved.
Second.
It's been moved in second. If there's no discussion, let's vote. All right, motion carried. Thank you so much. And Dr. Wyatt, 2.4.
Thank you, Madam President. 2.4, resolution recognizing October as Character Education Month. Whereas the Board of Education of the San Bernardino City Unified School District welcomes the opportunity to proclaim that the present and future well-being of our society requires an involved, informed, and caring citizenry with good character, and whereas character development is, first and foremost, an obligation of families, but that the efforts of faith communities, schools, and youth, civic, and human service organizations also play a vital role in fostering and promoting good character. And whereas October 17th through 23rd, 2021 is National Character Counts Week, a time to highlight character education and the importance of modeling good character. And whereas October 18th through 22nd, 2021 is Digital Citizenship Week, a time to discuss on making safe, ethical, and responsible decisions online. Therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Education joins the California Department of Education in recognizing October as Character Education Month and encourages all schools to ensure that the development of strong moral character and the promotion of responsible, ethical, and civic-minded behavior are part of the curriculum. So move.
Second.
It's been moved in second. If there's no discussion, let's prepare to vote. Motion carried. Thank you so much. We are now moving to 3.0 closed session. 3.1 closed session public comments. Ms. Cunningham, are there?
Yes, we do have some for closed session. Actually, we'll have 7, so I will give them 30 minutes total on the timer. They are all virtual, however, so when it gets close to the end, I'd like to be able to at least save 5 minutes if it gets that far.
All right, we are ready.
Okay, the first one is Janet Mejia.
Hello.
Okay, I'll go on to the next one. Lilia Cisneros Felix, please, if you're available, unmute.
Good afternoon, board members, Madam President. My name is Lilia Cisneros Felix. Although I speak English, Spanish is my primary language, so what I have to say, I have it written down in Spanish. Buenas tardes, miembros de la mesa directiva, Madam Presidente y miembros de la mesa directiva.
Good afternoon, members of the board and President, Madam.
En nuestro grupo de padres y comunidad, hemos venido observando cómo el nuevo superintendente y sus seguidores, por no decirles más feo, están destruyendo lo poco que se había construido en nuestro distrito.
We and a group of parents have been observing that the new superintendent and his group are destroying a lot of things that we have done in the past.
En las escuelas se siente una atmósfera de inseguridad.
In schools, there is an atmosphere of insecurity.
Todo esto causado por la prepotente y arbitraria presencia del superintendente visitando escuelas con ámpulas de superioridad.
All this is happening because of the new superintendent have a very conceited attitude visiting the schools with a very prepotent attitude to the schools and the teachers, and there's an atmosphere of insecurity at schools.
Señalando de una manera
Appointing
despectiva
in a
al encontrar áreas con polvo o sucias en las escuelas.
and noticing and signaling that where in schools there is areas that have a dust and that is not clean.
Olvidando que el responsable es él.
Forgetting that he is the responsible of that situation.
ya que no están enviando suficientes empleados a las escuelas.
because they're not sending enough employees to schools.
Desde que este hombre llegó y trabajó junto con la doctora Monares, su ahora diputada,
From this man came and started working with his now deputy, Mrs. Monares.
asistente superintendente, no han hecho más que sentirse los dioses del universo,
They have acted like they're the God of the universe,
mintiendo en cada palabra que dicen,
lying in each word they say,
en cuando se aparecen en juntas o su famoso town hall.
or when they're in their meetings or in their famous town halls.
De la doctora Monares no nos sorprende,
We're not
Pues lo-
surprised with Dr. Monares.
pues lo ha venido haciendo desde que llegó al distrito.
She have been doing so from she started in this school district.
La educación especial fue un desastre bajo su administración.
Special education was a disaster under her administration.
Sin embargo, ustedes
But
la
even so,
promovieron haciéndola diputada asistente de este superintendente.
you promoted her to become chief deputy of this this superintendent.
Miembros de la mesa directiva,
Members of the board,
la pregunta es,
the question is,
¿en verdad creen que están capacitados para velar por los intereses de nuestros estudiantes?
you really think that you're capable of taking care of the interests of our students?
¿Despidieron o dejaron que el señor Terry Comnick se fuera?
You let Mr. Terry Comet go,
La persona con más experiencia y conocimiento para trabajar en las finanzas del distrito.
the person that has better knowledge to work in the district finances.
Un hombre que entregó parte de su vida
A person that left part of his life
y demostró amor por servir a nuestra comunidad.
and he showed love to serve our community.
Para emplear a una persona desconocida
To hire someone that we don't know
de fuera
from an outsider
con tan solo 3 años de experiencia,
that only have 3 years of experience,
cuando supuestamente su lema es dar trabajo a gente de nuestra comunidad.
and that supposedly your logo is
They said
that
they
you
were in a
will
group?
hire people
She said
from
third
our
group. I
community.
thought she said they were all 7 men.
¿Dónde está pues el lema de ustedes de contratar y darle la oportunidad a las personas de nuestra comunidad?
Where's your motto that you said that you wanted to give and you want to hire people in our community?
Por favor, recapaciten y enmienden los errores.
Please think wisely and in your mistakes.
Todos nos equivocamos.
Everyone makes mistakes,
Aún podemos seguir juntos en esta jornada.
and we can still walk together in this journey.
Estas personas se deben de ir de
Time.
nuestro distrito.
These people, Lily, ¿puedes repetirlo, por favor?
Sí, estas personas se deben de ir de nuestro
These
distrito.
people need to leave our district.
Esta es nuestra casa.
This is our home.
Y no olviden que son nuestros hijos quienes generan el pago de sus salarios.
And do not forget, it is our kids that give you your salary.
Gracias.
Thank you. None.
I'm sorry about that. I'm just for clarity for the public. So it's not a group. And so we will make sure that we honor the individual 5-minute comments, because I think they were all on the same subject, but they're not necessarily a group. And so we couldn't tell that from being virtual or not. So it's corrected. So on the next speaker, they will have 5 minutes each. Okay? And then you just start the clocks.
Okay, our next speaker is Teresa. Teresa, if you're available, please unmute.
Buenas tardes.
Good afternoon.
Mi nombre es Teresa.
My name is Teresa.
Ustedes me conocen por mi servicio de más de 20 años a esta comunidad.
You know me because I've served this community for more than 20 years.
La confianza y el respeto que me he ganado de los maestros, administradores, padres y comunidad
The trust that I have gained from teachers, admin, parents, and the community
me hacen posible que estas personas se comuniquen conmigo.
it allows people to communicate with me.
He recibido correos electrónicos de maestros y de padres.
I have received emails from parents and teachers.
Los padres se sienten defraudados.
The parents feel defrauded.
Hemos visto una y otra vez
We
cómo
have,
circulan videos del trabajo del señor superintendente en distritos anteriores.
we have seen more than once videos of the superintendent, how he works in other districts.
La incertidumbre en nuestra comunidad
The uncertainty in our community
es ver cómo la mesa directiva trajo a una persona con esta personalidad de trabajo.
is to see how our board brought this person with this kind of personality.
Escuchamos frecuentemente versiones de cómo el superintendente está visitando las escuelas.
We've been listening frequently of how the superintendent are visiting the schools.
Ha llegado hasta nuestros oídos
We
Las-
have heard
prácticamente amenazas para directores
that some principal have been
para despedirlos.
has been said that they want to fire them.
Eso es realmente inaceptable.
That is unacceptable.
Venimos de una pandemia.
We're coming out of a pandemic.
Existe el estrés, la ansiedad
There's stress, anxiety
en todas las personas.
in all people.
Lo que menos ocupamos es que vengan a presionar de esta manera.
The least that we expect is for you guys to pressure us.
Cuando se presiona a un administrador, él a su vez presiona a los maestros.
When you pressure an admin, he also will pressure the teachers.
Y si el maestro está presionado, no puede dar el 100% de su capacidad para los estudiantes.
If the teachers are pressured, they cannot give 100% of capacity for their students.
Escuchamos en uno de los videos cómo
We-
cerca de 30 maestros le renunciaron en la mesa directiva en el distrito escolar donde trabajó.
We heard in one of the videos how 30 teachers resigned in the last district where he worked.
No queremos que pase eso en nuestro distrito.
We don't want that to happen in our district.
Hay una necesidad nacional de maestros y de empleados.
There's a need nationwide of teachers and employees.
No podemos permitir que destrocen nuestro distrito.
We cannot allow that our district be destroyed.
Un líder forma líderes,
A leader forms leaders.
no destroza sueños,
He does not destroy dreams.
es por eso, miembros de la mesa directiva,
And this is why members of the board,
hacemos un llamado a ustedes.
we're making a call to you.
Se necesita hacer algo.
We need to do something.
Confiamos en ustedes y les dimos nuestro voto.
We trusted in you and we gave you our votes.
Necesitamos que tomen acción.
We need you to take action.
Cuando votamos por ustedes no fue para estar sentados,
When we voted for you, it wasn't for you to be seated.
fue para que velaran por los intereses de nuestra comunidad,
It was for you to take care of the interests of our community,
haciendo decisiones sabias,
making wise decisions.
pero entendemos que todos nos equivocamos.
But we understand that everybody can make a mistake.
Lo importante no es equivocarse,
The important thing is not to
Time.
make a mistake.
lo importante es saber reconocer que nos equivocamos y tomar acción para remediar esta situación.
The important thing is to know that we made a mistake and take actions to fix this mistake.
Nosotros queremos San Bernardino
We love San Bernardino,
y nosotros queremos todos nuestros empleados que se capaciten para hacer mejor trabajo.
we want all our employees to get trained to do a better job.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Dr. Elsa Valdez, if you're available, please unmute.
Yes, thank you. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. Good evening, board members. I'm going to leave my video off and just, let you know what concerns that I have. My concerns are mostly based on the needs of the students in this district and some of the leadership concerns that some of us have been talking about lately in terms of some changes that we would like to see take place in the district, and just some food for thought and for your consideration. One of the big ones, of course, has been the challenge to stay on top or ahead of the COVID protocols. And it's not just our district that is dealing with that issue. Our own campus at Cal State, as well as other school districts, are dealing with some of the very same issues in terms of making sure that we have good leadership at the top that is monitoring on a daily basis to make sure that our students are safe. And I'm going to bring up one example because this is the one that I'm most familiar with. And I looked at the school district's plan that shows all of the details in terms of how things are supposed to be handled. And one of the problems is that depending on what school site you go to, not everyone is following a plan that is similar to each other. People are doing different things at schools, even though I'm sure they do try to follow, the school plan that I was looking at earlier today. But I am concerned because no disrespect to the person that was put in charge of implementing the plan, and I don't have to mention his name because the board members do know who it is. But I was just shocked when I heard that it wasn't someone with expertise in the area of COVID and science that was put in charge of implementing the plan at all the school sites. It seems to me that I looked up how much money was given in California to school districts, and what I found was that there was something like $26.4 billion from federal and state funds that were given to districts. I looked up our district's portion from edsource.org, and our district received over $435 million that they were supposed to use for student learning and also to make sure that our students are safe. And so, two things I want to point out is that, when the leader, the top leader in the school district, in this case, the superintendent, is delegating tasks, that's, very positive, because when you delegate tasks, that means that you appoint someone that's going to take the time, that has the expertise in that area that they're being assigned, and that they take the effort and make sure that it's completed properly. My sense is that a lot of these duties are being farmed out. When you farm out duties, for me, that means that you're dumping something that is your responsibility. You're sending it to other people for them to deal with. And that's the sense that many of us in the community are feeling right now. And that, the leadership which starts at the top, is just not making things transparent. I don't think most community members know how much money our district received. I would like to know, how those monies were spent, exactly what, was put in place. And if you only have one person overseeing that, I think, in my estimation, that's not the best way to go about it. There should be more transparency. There should be input, of course, from the board members, but also from the parents and the community and the students themselves. And of course, the rest of the people that are out in the trenches, the staff and the teachers are the ones that, have a lot of information that they can share in terms of how those monies should be used. So again, not knowing how the monies were allocated, I am concerned that there was only one person that was farmed the task of overlooking, the COVID protocol. And there have been a lot of complaints. I've had an opportunity to talk to parents who are concerned about the safety of their children. And that's what, that's why I'm here tonight, to focus on the needs of our students and not so much everyone else, because they're at the mercy of adults who are supposed to be the leaders. And coming from the top down, I'm very concerned that that's just not something that's very visible to many of us. And so for me, this is a sign of poor leadership, the fact that the plan was not well thought out. And so I hope that you will consider some of the things that we're bringing up tonight. Thank you so much.
Catalina Castillo, if you're available, please unmute.
Thank you. Good evening, Board President, Vice President, Cabinet, and all members present. My name is Catalina Castillo. I have been in the SBC USD community for over 30 years. I attended Monterey Elementary, Richardson Prep High, and San Bernardino High School. I have also been a parent volunteer in the district for over 15 years. I'm here today because of the lack of COVID safety and leadership during these months. Board members, if you thought it was fine for our students to be in this dangerous situation, well, let me tell you, it was not fine for my student. Like Mr. Tillman mentioned a few meetings ago, your house is on fire. My student is not in your school anymore. My student is now in a charter school, A through G, WASC accredited, and doing concurrent enrollment at Valley College. Like many other parents that have moved out of the district, I got tired of waiting on you to take action. The back to school roadmap that your superintendent and assistant superintendent talk about does not match the reality at the schools. As for the listening and learning they talk about, I don't know who you're all listening to, because the town hall showed you are not listening to our community. And if you're still learning, you have no business in our community. I don't understand how nationwide search resulted in such a poor leadership option. The transparency you often mention is non-existent, and the dashboard proves this. Board members, you disappoint me. Every time you make mistakes, our students, staff, and community pays for them. Our community needs you. We still have great educators in our district, but they need your support. You are burning them out and you're driving them away. You, elected board members, were chosen by the community and can also be removed by the community. Do your job. Fix the mess you have brought to our community and make hope happen again before it's too late. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Janet Mejia. If you're available, please unmute.
You have to say it in Spanish.
Janet Mejía, ¿puede quitar por favor el autoparlante para que pueda hablar? Si va a hablar, recuerde hablar despacio para que yo le pueda interpretar todo. Gracias.
Go ahead.
talking.
Janet, la estamos esperando. ¿Puede hablar, por favor?
She's unmuted. Is she unmuted?
Estás
to
con el
text-
autoparlante. Tienes que quitar el autoparlante para que puedas hablar.
Okay. Maybe something's going on with her internet.
It shows her talking. That means she's not muted, but we don't have her turned up.
Estás hablando, pero no se te escucha nada aquí en la sala.
Not talking though, because it would have showed her name. So we can go to the next.
Okay, we'll call for her. Go, move to the next one, and then we'll call again.
Okay, we'll go with Liliana Valenzuela. If you're there, please unmute.
Liliana, si estás ahí, puedes quitar.
Buenas tardes.
Ok. Liliana, por favor, recuerde de hablar despacio para que yo le interprete todo. Gracias.
Ok. Muy buenas tardes a todos.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Mi comentario inicia. No puedo. Es lamentable en estos días tener como superintendente a una persona que no fue grata en otros distritos.
It's very sad to see that you hire a superintendent that wasn't welcome in other districts.
Ahora más que nunca nuestros maestros, alumnos y comunidad se sienten fracturados emocionalmente.
Now more than ever, our teachers and students feel fractured emotionally.
Tenemos una gran necesidad de líderes con corazón y con la vocación de construir estudiantes de éxito y de apoyo al personal de este distrito, cosa que no se refleja en estos días.
We have a very heavy heart to hire people that wants to help and care for our students and our community, and we don't see that reflected in the new leadership.
Sentimos una gran consternación ver videos en YouTube donde no se refleja nada positivo del que es ahora nuestro superintendente.
We're seeing with a heavy heart the videos in YouTube where there's no positive reflection of the new superintendent that we have here.
Y esto es muy preocupante.
And we are very worried about it.
Por favor, les pido que tomen conciencia sobre esto
Board
y
members,
vean la
please
realidad.
be conscious of this.
Vean la realidad y en el momento.
Señora Liliana, repita lo
necesitamos.
último porque no se cortó y no le escuché. Repítalo, por favor.
Ok, ya,
Se está cortando.
Mesa directiva, por favor, les pido que tomen conciencia sobre esto
Board members, please be conscious of this situation
y vean la realidad
and see the reality
de la necesidad que tenemos de unos buenos líderes
of the need that we have to have good leaders.
y sobre el regreso a clases presenciales.
And for coming back to school in physical,
Siendo complejo esta situación.
señora Liliana, se corta y no se le escucha. Repita lo último después de regreso a clases.
¿No me escuchas? Estamos enfrentando situaciones diferentes cada día,
We're confronting different situations every day.
a lo que refleja que el plan que se diseñó no fue de totalmente
That the plan and that reflects that the plan that you gave out initially,
no buen diseñado.
it wasn't very well designed.
Dicho plan de regreso a clases
The plan to come back to school
no fue exactamente considerado para nuestros estudiantes de necesidades especiales.
our special ed student wasn't considered in these plans.
Quiero sentir que hemos sido la comunidad más afectada.
We have been the community that has been more affected.
Aún estamos en la pelea por una inclusión
We're still fighting for inclusion,
y dar un apoyo total para su éxito académico.
and we need all your support for academic
La
needs.
pregunta es para nuestra mesa directiva si tenemos un líder que nos preocupa cómo podremos lograr esto. Gracias.
Our question is that if we have a leader that will help us accomplish this. Thank you.
Okay, I'll try again for Janet Mejia. Are you there?
Señora Janet Mejía, ¿está ahí usted?
¿Me escuchan?
Sí, se le escucha. Señora Janet, necesito que...
Ok. Buenas tardes.
Señora Janet, ¿me escucha a mí?
Sí.
Por favor, hable despacio para que yo le pueda interpretar todo lo que usted dice. Gracias.
Claro que sí. Señores y señoras presentes, por favor, escuchen nuestras preocupaciones.
Men and women present, please listen to our worries.
Desde el momento que ustedes trajeron a este señor como superintendente,
From the moment that you brought this gentleman as superintendent,
confiamos en que habían hecho una buena elección.
we
Confiamos en
trusted that you'd
ustedes.
made a good election,
Confiamos en ustedes.
and we trusted in you.
Desafortunadamente, nos ocultaron el historial tan negativo que este señor viene acarreando con él.
Unfortunately, you did not reveal the negative background that this man is bringing with him.
Aún así quisimos ver por qué lo trajeron y darle la oportunidad de demostrarnos que era un hombre competente.
Even so, we allow you to bring him, and we wanted to give him the opportunity to show us that he was a person competent to do this job.
Sin embargo, hemos comprobado con tristeza que no es así y nos sentimos decepcionados.
And with heavy heart and sadness, we know that it's not so, and we feel not
Disappointed.
decepcionados. I'm sorry, can't come to my mind right now.
Sí,
The word is disappointment.
Disappointment. Gracias, Janet.
Yeah, okay. De hecho, en una junta del board, él les aseguró a ustedes que ya se había reunido con los padres en los diferentes comités.
And also, he assure you that he meet with all the parents of different committees before,
Lo cual es una mentira porque nunca lo ha hecho.
this is a lie. He have never done so.
Mandó a su secretaria para la junta de DILAC,
He sent,
mostrándole la comunidad de padres
he sent his secretary to the DLAC meetings,
más grande del distrito que no le importa, lo
And the-
cual no nos sorprende.
and this is the parents meeting more greater that the district have, and he showed us that he didn't care, which we're not surprised,
Ya que los videos de internet así lo caracterizan.
because the videos in the internet characterize him as so.
Cabe recalcar que teníamos diferencias de aceptación con el doctor Marsden,
We want to say that we had differences with Dr. Marsden also,
pero al menos él siempre mostró respeto, interés y le dio un lugar a los comités en su agenda administrativa.
and but he always showed respect, and he always take time to meet in the different committees of the districts that we had.
Hoy les entregamos nuestro descontento y les pedimos que tomen acción.
Today, we want you to know that we're very unhappy, and we want you to take action.
Por favor, terminen con este error administrativo.
Please end this administrative horror that we have.
Nos gustaría seguir trabajando con ustedes representando los intereses de nuestros niños.
We would like to continue working with you so you can represent the interests of our students.
De otra manera, seguiremos adelante. Gracias.
Even so, we will continue. Thank you.
Maria Hermosillo, if you're available, please unmute.
Buenas tardes, miembros de la mesa directiva
Good
y miembros del
afternoon, board
gabinete.
members and members of the cabinet.
El día de hoy estamos aquí para mostrarles nuestra indignación
Today we want to show you our indignation
y descontento con el señor que ustedes nos impusieron como superintendente.
and unhappy feelings with the person that you put as our superintendent.
Nos sentimos engañados y traicionados.
We feel betrayed and lied to.
No podemos entender qué fue lo que vieron en esta persona.
We cannot understand what did you saw in this person.
Como ya se ha mencionado antes,
As we mentioned before,
están circulando varios videos en diferentes medios de internet.
there is circulation of different videos in the internet
Sobre el trabajo y terror que este hombre ha traído
regarding the work and the terror that this man has brought
a cada uno de los distritos donde él ha trabajado.
on each district where he has worked.
Señora Presidenta, doctora Gwen Rogers, ¿están
Mrs.
ustedes capacitados para supervisar y guiar a nuestro distrito?
Madam President, Dr. Gwen, are you capable of leading our district?
Le hago esta pregunta porque es obvio que se equivocaron.
I ask this question because it's obvious that you made a mistake.
Es por eso que hoy les recordamos
And that's why today we remind you
que su posición es para servir y representar los intereses de nuestra comunidad estudiantil.
that your position is to serve and to take care of the interests of our students.
Y está más que claro que bajo la dirección de este superintendente
And it's more than clear that under the supervision of this superintendent
y otros miembros de su gabinete,
and
esto
others
no va a suceder.
and other members of his cabinet, this is not going to happen.
Les pedimos que enmienden su error.
We ask you to fix your mistake.
Todos nos equivocamos alguna vez,
All of us made mistakes once in our life,
pero es de sabios
but it's,
responsabilizarse y arreglar la situación.
but it's from wise people to take responsibility and fix this situation.
El próximo año habrá elecciones,
Next year, there will be elections.
pero no se confíen porque empezaremos a trabajar
But please don't trust because we will start working now
para que los 7 miembros que busquen su reelección,
for those 7 members that will want re-election.
y es ahí donde los ciudadanos sabremos valorar el trabajo
And there's where the citizenship will value the job or the works
y representación de cada uno de ustedes.
and each and one of you representation.
Gracias.
Thank you.
And our last comment for this is Blanca Camacho. If you're available, please unmute.
Sí, buenas tardes.
Good afternoon.
Señores miembros de la mesa directiva,
Members of the board,
queremos expresar nuestro descontento con la persona que ustedes nos impusieron como superintendente a nuestro distrito.
we want to share our unhappiness from the person that you put over us as superintendent in this district.
Estamos aquí para pedirles que remuevan a esta persona de nuestro distrito
We're here to ask you to remove this person from our district.
Como padres sabemos y entendemos que estamos viviendo tiempos difíciles.
As parents, we understand that we're living difficult times.
No necesitamos personas que los vengan a complicar más de lo que ya son.
We don't need someone to come and complicate our life more than it is right now.
Para evaluar maestros y a los directores de la escuela,
To evaluate the teachers and principals of schools.
y para evaluar directores tenemos a los asistentes de superintendente.
For that job, we have assistant of superintendents.
Está claro que el ego y la prepotencia de este señor
Is it clear that this man's ego and his conceitedness
son solo para humillar y creerse el Dios de nuestro distrito?
is only to humiliate people and act like he's the God of this district?
Miembros de la mesa directiva,
Members of the board,
este señor no llena ninguna de las sugerencias que los padres de la comunidad pedimos para el nuevo superintendente.
this person does not qualify any of the qualities that we ask to fulfill our students of this district.
No olviden ninguno de ustedes
Don't forget, any of you,
que su lugar en la mesa directiva
that your job in the board
fue otorgado para representar a los intereses de nuestros estudiantes.
was given to you so you could represent the needs and the interests of our students.
No nos defrauden. Gracias.
Please don't let go of us. Thank you.
And I do have one more. Rosa Loera, if you're available, please unmute.
Hello, board members. Thank you for taking my call. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you. I apologize. So I do want to mention that all the comments that I've been hearing, I'm with them. I understand okay, I'm gonna have to say it in Spanish because it's a lot that I wanted to say, but I want to concentrate more in my language.
Okay,
So,
señora
¿me puede
Loera.
ayudar, por favor?
Señora
Sí.
Loera, recuerde hablar en frases pequeñas para que yo le interprete todo. Gracias.
Sí, claro, muchas gracias. Disculpen, mesa directiva, pero me gustaría hablar en mi idioma natal.
I'm sorry, board. I would like to speak in my first language.
Siento que me podría comunicar mucho.
I feel that I can
Mejor.
communicate better.
Mi comentario es, me frustra escuchar todo lo negativo que se está escuchando acerca del nuevo superintendente.
My frustration is to listen to all the negative comments that they're saying towards the new superintendent.
Yo soy de las personas que me gusta darle la oportunidad a las personas para poder conocerlos.
I am the kind of person that like to give people opportunity to get to know them.
Y darles la oportunidad que demuestren su trabajo.
And give them that opportunity to show their job.
Y la pasión que sienten.
And the passion that they have.
Para dar a los niños
to
y
work,
a los padres.
Para dar a los niños, ¿qué?
La pasión que sienten de dar a los niños y a los padres.
The passion that they have to give to the children and to the parents.
Pero he sentido en este señor que no tiene esa pasión.
But I have feel in this gentleman that he don't have that passion.
He sentido que no tiene el respeto hacia la comunidad.
I feel that he don't have respect to this community.
Escuché que él dijo que tuvo juntas con los comités y eso es una gran mentira.
I heard that he said that he had meetings with the committees, and that's a big lie.
Él tuvo una junta conmigo y no lo niego.
He met with me. I don't deny it.
Pero yo le dije a él que si la junta iba a ser con el comité completo y él me demandó decir con su secretaria que nada más conmigo.
And I asked him if the meeting was going to be with all the committee, and he sent and said to me through his secretary that no, it was only with me.
Me extrañó porque regularmente cuando una persona viene se quiere conocer los comités completos.
It surprised me because normally when someone start a job, they want to know all the committees.
Yo he tratado de tener una reunión con él porque mi comité quiere conocerlo.
I have tried to have an appointment or a meeting with him because my committee wants to meet him.
Y hasta la fecha no he tenido la oportunidad de que me dé una junta.
And I have not had the opportunity that he will give me a meeting.
Él personalmente me prometió que iba a estar en la junta de DILAC de este mes.
He promised me personally that he was going to be in the DLAC meeting this month.
Y nunca se presentó.
And he never came.
Ni una llamada.
He didn't call us.
Ni siquiera una disculpa por el hecho de que no supe por qué no se presentó. Y yo le dije al comité que él me había prometido que él iba a estar ahí.
He didn't even give us an excuse why he didn't come. And I told the committee that he promised me that he was going to be at that meeting.
Es una gran decepción.
It's a great deception.
Por el hecho de que para nosotros el comité de DILAC es mucho, muy importante.
Because DLAC committee is a very important committee.
Y las cosas las tomamos muy en serio.
And we take things very seriously.
Él nos canceló las juntas que hacíamos, no mensualmente, pero que sí hacíamos durante el año.
He canceled our meetings that we used to do, not monthly, but we had these meetings during the school year.
2 personas del comité.
2 persons from the committee.
Con los board members.
With the board members.
Me entristece saber.
I am very sad to know.
En mirar todos esos videos de todo lo negativo de este señor.
And to see all these videos of all the negative things that he have done.
Y que no está poniendo ni una piedrita de su parte para mejorar las cosas.
And that he's not even trying to put a little stone on his side to make things better.
Me gustaría que ustedes pudieran tomar una mejor decisión que la que tomaron de traer a esta persona a nuestra comunidad.
I would like to know that you will take a better decision that you did by bringing this person into our community.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you so much.
That is all the comments.
Thank you so much. All right, at this time, we're going to move to 3.2, adjourn to closed session. And so to our viewing audience, we will be back as soon as we can. Thank you.
All right, folks, we'll get going, and thank you everyone for being so patient with us. I know that was an extremely long closed session, so we'll continue with the rest of the agenda, and we are on 4.1, Assistant Director, Elementary Instruction, and be it resolved that the Board of Education approve the appointment of the following employee, Keisha Handy, Assistant Director, Elementary Instruction, effective date, work and year, salary to be determined, funding 031.
Moved.
It's been moved by Mr. Tillman and seconded by Dr. Flores. Any discussion? All right, let's go ahead and vote. All right, motion carries and 6-0 with Dr. Rogers not being present. All right, for 4.2, HR Class 212205 ER, be it resolved that the Board of Education accepts the notice of recommendation for disciplinary action and statement of charges to suspend without pay for 5 days the following classified employee from his or her employment with the district. HR Class 21-2205-ER.
Moved.
It's been moved by Mr. Tillman and seconded by Dr. Flores. Any discussion? All right, we'll go ahead and vote. Motion carries 6-0. All right, next one, 4.3, expulsion of students and positive youth development. The Board of Education accepts and adopts the recommendation and findings of the hearing panel based on a review of the panel's findings of facts and recommendations, and orders the expulsion of the following students with the identification number as listed below in accordance with the board rules and regulations in compliance with Education Code 48900. The board, a little bit more. The board does hereby order the enforcement of the expulsion suspended for a period of not more than 1 calendar year. The suspension and enforcement of the expulsion order is deemed appropriate for the rehabilitation of the pupil per Education Code 48917, student number 439708. And I believe it was originally moved by Dr. Hill, and I'll have it seconded by Mr. Tillman. Any discussion? All right, let's go ahead and vote. All right, 4.4, petition to expunge, rescind, or modify youth court or expulsion. The Board of Education authorized the expulsion and/or youth court modification, expungement, or rescinding of the following students with identification numbers as indicated below to schools of the San Diego Unified School District in accordance with the board rules and regulations in compliance with Education Code Section 48900, student number 361531, student number 474182, student number 312907, and student number 323211.
Moved.
It's been moved by Mr. Tillman and seconded by Ms. Ceballos. Any discussion? Okay, let's go ahead and vote. Alrighty, 4.5. Students recommended for suspension or expulsion, excluding mandatory offenses, but remanded to youth court for other means of correction. The Board of Education accepts and adopts the recommendation and findings of facts of the Positive Youth Development Department and orders the suspension or expulsion of the following students with the identification numbers as listed below in accordance with the board rules and regulations and in compliance with Education Code 48900. Student number 518917, student number 424413, student number 432930, student 421531. It's been moved by Mr. Tillman and seconded by Dr. Hill. Any discussion? All right, let's go ahead and vote. All right, motion carries 6-0. All right, receive public comments 5.1. This is the only time the public will have an opportunity to address the board on items not on the agenda and within their subject matter jurisdiction, such as district policies, procedures, programs, services, or fiscal matters. At this time, we are still accepting comments via Zoom, and a registration form is required and available for 24 hours prior to all scheduled Board of Education meetings and close at 4:30 p.m. on the day of the meeting. In-person public comments will be taken first. Participants speaking via Zoom are reminded that any inappropriate language or images will forfeit their registration. They will immediately be removed from the meeting. Public comments are limited to 5 minutes per person. 6 or more people who wish to speak on one topic will be provided no more than 30 minutes total. Speakers are cautioned that under California law, no person is immune from liability for making intentionally false or defamatory comments regarding any person simply because these comments are made at a public meeting. All righty, we'll go ahead and take public comment at this time. Our first speaker will be Dr. Judy White. Welcome, Dr. White.
Thank you so much. Good evening. I had Superintendent Irvin and President Dowdy on my notes, but I don't see them. But good evening, board members and cabinet. As you know, my name is Dr. Judy White, and I don't want you to look at me as I stand before you as a retired Riverside County Superintendent or a former Moreno Valley Unified School District Superintendent. or 32-year employee of this district, I want you to see me as a proud graduate of Cajon High School, because that's who I was first before those other titles. Class of 1973. I grew up here, attended elementary, middle, and high school, and I thank you for my school experience that has afforded me a wonderful opportunity and a journey. But I also know that when I went to Cajon High School, we had several problems, race-related, and as a student, a 17-year-old, I vowed that we would work together as a team, all the races coming together, forming a club called Chiblanglo, Chicano, Black, and Anglos working together. So now that I've retired, I back to one of my first loves, which is bringing people together. I've written a book called We the People, and it is based on the preamble with the foundation of the third option. So the third option is a group that I'm currently working with that brings races together, and it approaches it from a similarities base, saying that we are more similar than different, and that we need to focus on our similarities. It also talks about how do we form groups and end up having biases towards groups. It also goes on to blind spots, that we all have blind spots where we offend people of other races without even knowing it, or we have judgments about different groups. It has a fourth tenet called labels, that we label people, and once we label them, we are not able to change our thoughts about them. And then it talks about being a brothers and sisters keeper, where we hold each other accountable. And it ends with race conversations to race consultations. This is a program that I'm a master trainer for, and it's something that I think you may want to consider. And I wanted to come before you to share with you about the third option, because it's not always a them against us. Sometimes there's a third option in between that means that we focus on our humanity, and we actually intentionally teach young people to care about each other from humanity's base. And as I look around, I see people I've worked with in the field for years, and I believe that during my research and discovery that there is a program that people can walk away from the training not feeling beat up or feeling blamed, but they can feel empowered to care about one another, and as we move towards unity. So this book is a complimentary book that I'm leaving with you. This is not the training. This is from my heart, but I just looked at the preamble and the third option and integrated it. I also want you to know that I did come here to say thank you, because I got my education from this wonderful district, and sometimes people don't come back to say thank you. My daughter, who graduated from San Gorgonio High School, she's the vice chancellor of San Bernardino Community College District. She got her education foundation from here. My son is a computer machinist, and I have another son that works for the Army, who's as a civilian and has done the audits for FEMA. They came from this district. And I hope that you remember what what this district is capable of producing. And I'm hoping that the staff will allow our team to come and present the third option. Our team is a multicultural team, and some of the members who were here had to leave because of the lateness of the hour. But I just want you to know that I believe that together we can do better. And when we know better, we do better. My heart is heavy because of sitting in the audience, but I still believe in we, and that if we do not intentionally pursue we will have more problems, not only in the district, but in the world. And I want to be part of the solution. I want the students to know how to talk and how to love each other and care about one another. But let's create the future that we would like to see. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Dr. White. All right. Oh, I'm sorry, Dr. White, we have one clarification question or comment?
Yes. First of all, I want to thank you, Dr. White, for the beautiful book. I perused it, and you come at a very opportune time, because we've been having many fights in our campuses. And I don't know if it's about the COVID, but my clarifying question is, you're offering a training to our kids. Is that right?
Yes, we have a training for the students, the adults as well, and the community.
At all
and
ages, all throughout,
ages.
all ages.
We have curriculum developed K through 12, and we also have a parent component.
And what do you call it?
The third option.
The third option.
Yes,
Okay.
and you can go online and see the third option similarity training.
Well, we're very blessed to have you and for you to come and share this with us, and we look forward to working with you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Dr. White and Dr. Flores. Our next public comment is Dr. John Moran, and it is on the third option. Thank you, Dr. White. And apologize, Dr. Moran, that we went too long and he wasn't able to have public comment. Our next public comment will be Mr. White, and it is on the third option. Welcome, Mr. White.
Thank you for having me and allowing me the space with you guys. I went through some training with the third option. She went through her master training and some other training online as well. I just wanted to express, as a former graduate, I went to Parkside Elementary School, and then I graduated from San Jose as well in 1998. That it's one of those things that's tangible and palatable, that it's not offensive. It's a conversation piece that could be pushed forward. I also wanted to express some of the things that Dr. Moran had hoped to express was it has a vision. There's a third option school, a third option city that they have a vision for. So it's going somewhere. It's not something that we just do over 6 to 8 weeks, but it's a lifestyle change that the community needs, because if they're still fighting in school, even if it's race, we've been doing that since the 90s and 80s. I was there, so I know that nothing has changed too much. So we need to do something more drastic, more passionate, and more lifetime. Like, okay, we are who we are, but our kids deserve better. Our kids deserve to walk into an environment where the tension is not like it is, and where there's like hope for the future. So I just wanted to express that sentiment as a commoner, as a regular guy, and just to thank you guys as well, because you guys are important. Every piece is important, and every piece needs to be valued. And I think that's what the third option training is like. Everybody has value. Everybody has value. So there's no mistakes. I heard something about mistakes earlier. There's no mistakes. Everybody has value, but we have to value each other. So thank you guys for your time. Thank you guys for the space, and thank you for everything you're doing with us. God bless you guys.
Thank you, Mr. White, and thank you for your patience. All right, our next comment is Dr. Judy White on agenda item 8.3, service delivery model. Welcome back, Dr. White.
What I was going to say about the service delivery model, and I'll only take a minute, is that I am familiar with that particular model throughout California. There's other places, and that I would love to be able to see you have an open mind about making sure that all of our students are served in a very deliberate way. So that's all. Thank you.
Dr. White. All right, our next public comment is Ms. Christina Marquez on agenda item 8.3. Welcome, Ms. Marquez.
Well, good evening, everyone. I have quietly sat back there for the last several board meetings and watched you online, and I finally decided I'd get up and speak tonight. When we went and we shut down for the pandemic, we all sprung into action. The board, the then seated board, because not everybody was here back then, took that bold step and closed down our district. And quickly teachers were being trained. We were being given webinars. We had Zoom meetings. We were taught how to do various things. We became quite proficient at what we do. Now, maybe it's time to spring into action again. You see, our teachers are suffering a lot of stress, anxiety, and a lot of pressure with the new distance learning. And a little note I got hold of today about short-term independent study. We have students who will be in class for a few days, and then pretty soon we've got 9 missing for a couple of days, maybe a week, and then 7 will come back, and we might have 2 missing. So it's a constant battle to keep them up to date on what we've been teaching. And then all of a sudden, this gets dropped in our lap about we now have to have a short-term independent study ready at the drop of a hat. This is for the classroom teachers. And we have to sign a master agreement and have signatures on there at the drop of a hat. Now, we have had students in the past where we've had maybe a week's notice, and we should have longer than that to prepare it, because eventually we're going to have to grade it, and we have to make sure that we've got all the papers in order, and we have to make sure that there are instructions. Now, we're all in this together. We have credentialed teachers all over this district who are not in the classroom, and they've trained us with videos and webinars, and perhaps they could put together such videos for those students who have registered for virtual learning and have yet to show up. But some of them are actually listed on our classroom rosters. And so now we're being asked to put together lessons for them when they haven't been in class at all, which adds more stress, anxiety, pressure. We're trying to provide that social emotional for our students in our classroom. But at the same time, you must think about the social emotional of our teachers as well. We have been stretched to the limit. These are difficult times. And our teachers really need the help from not just leaning on ourselves and working together and spending tireless hours in our classrooms after our day is over, or getting there at 7 o'clock in the morning at elementary to get ready for your class. It would be interesting to have certificated office hours again with the cabinet so you can hear what's actually going on and what our teachers are going through. Let's see. While I've been waiting for you to come out of all of this, many things have cropped up. Perhaps maybe changing your closed session to the end of the meeting so that there would be more people here to give their input. I'd also like to suggest putting vending machines out there, because some of us come straight from work and don't anticipate being here past 11 o'clock at night, although it looks like you'll be here way past that. One of the other thing I'd like to bring up is on the COVID dashboard, it would be nice to have a cumulative total for each of those schools, not just what currently is on the books. One of the last things I want to say is, since I have not been up here since the shutdown, and I think it's time to thank the classified employees who stepped up, the fellow certificate employees who went above and beyond, our school police who kept us safe and our school site safe, and our guest teachers who, unfortunately, we haven't had a whole lot of them, but we appreciated them coming in when we ourselves got sick. In closing, please keep these board meetings a little bit shorter. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Marquez. Appreciate your comments. All right, Ms. Cunningham, are there any more public comments online?
I have one.
He's still there.
Okay. Kareem Gangora, if you're still available, please unmute.
Yes, I am.
Welcome, Mr. Gangora.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hello.
Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening, members of the board and the San Bernardino City Unified Community. My name is Kareem Gangora, and I first want to thank you. I know it's been a long meeting, but I thank you for the ease of accessing public comment and also the ability to provide live comment virtually. I understand you had a long closed session, so thankfully I was able to, have the rest of my evening, but also chime in. And so I'm actually here today because I'm a doctoral candidate at California Baptist University, and I am in the last step of the process, which is the research portion of the dissertation. And so I do want to thank the Internal Review Committee for approving this study on understanding parental engagement and the program administration of the Local Control Accountability Plan and the Special Education Local Plan area. As you all know, both programs are core elements of public education in California. And through the research, it is my hope to better understand the alignment and the complexities of both programs. And so I'm hoping to connect with special education parents from all grade levels. And part of the reason why I have a desire to engage with this population is because I'm a father of a daughter with disabilities at a nearby school district. Thus, while I understand how these systems have operated for my family, I'm hoping to gain a broader interpretation of how it affects the student populations prioritized by the LCAP and serviced by SELPA. So with that being said, the study is entirely confidential. I do have a screening survey, and I'm hopeful that I'll be able to screen 100 parents, interview 10 of those participants, and then connect with 5 administrators. And so I'm taking the remaining weeks of September and first weeks of October to perform the interviews, and then hoping to write and prepare to defend by the end of the year. And so at that time, I would be more than happy to share those findings and analysis with the special education team, the superintendent, executive cabinet, and of course the board of education. The survey link is bit.ly/SELPA LCAP. And my contact information is Kareem.Gongora@calbaptist.edu. And I could also be reached at 909-278-8191. I'm here for any questions, but definitely want to thank the board for the ability to comment. I know it's been a long day, so I hope you have a great rest of your evening. And thanks again for the opportunity to provide public comment.
Thank you, Mr. Gongora, and congratulations on your doctoral program and dissertation. All right, Ms. Cunningham, any other public comments? Oh, you're welcome. Thank you. All right, there are no more public comments at this time. We will continue to move on with our agenda. I'm sorry. Let me put on my glasses. 6.1, public hearing and adoption of sufficiency of TK-12 textbooks and instructional materials.
Open the public hearing.
Are you opening the public hearing?
You just say open the public hearing.
Righty. At this time, we will hold a public hearing and approve of sufficiency of TK-12 textbooks, instructional materials. The public hearing is now open. Karen, Ms. Cunningham, do we have any comments?
No, there are none.
All right, the public hearing is now closed. Oh, sorry about that.
Ham, do we approve it? Do we vote on it? Okay.
Need a motion.
I apologize, I did mess up my screen there.
Need a motion.
We'll look at a vote now. Or a motion, excuse me.
I move that we adopt the TK-12 textbooks and instructional materials.
You can read what's here, but that's fine. I'll second it.
It's been motioned by Dr. Flores and seconded by Mr. Tillman. Any discussion? All right, let's go ahead and vote.
Dr. Wyatt, you need to read the be it resolved, please.
Okay, and please be patient. This is a pretty long one. Oh, okay. Thank goodness. And I apologize. I'm learning a few things as we go. All right, be it resolved that the Board of Education adopts the following resolution. Whereas the governing board of San Bernardino City Unified School District, in order to comply with requirements of Education Code Section 60119, held a public hearing on September 21st, 2021 at 5:30 p.m., which is on or before the 8th week of school and which did not take place during or immediately following the school hours. And whereas the governing board provided at least 10 days notice of the public hearing posted in at least 3 public places within the district that stated at the time, place, and purpose of the hearing. And whereas the governing board encouraged participation by parents, teachers, members of the community, and bargaining unit leaders in the public hearing. And whereas information provided at the public hearing and to the governing board at the public meeting detailed the extent to which textbooks and instructional materials were provided to all students, including English learners in the San Bernardino City Unified School District. And whereas the definition of sufficient textbooks or instructional materials means that each pupil has a textbook or instructional materials or both to use in class and to take home. Textbooks are available in hardbound and/or in digital format for all grades, subject area within the following exceptions due to digital availability. Elementary educational exceptions from digital usage, transitional kindergarten big books in language arts and mathematics. Whereas the sufficient textbooks and instructional materials were provided to each student, including English learners, which are aligned to the academic content standard and consistent with the cycles and content of the curriculum framework in the following subjects: mathematics, science, history, social science, English language arts. Whereas sufficient textbooks or instructional materials were provided to each pupil enrolled in foreign language or health classes, and whereas laboratory science equipment was available for science laboratory classes offering grades 9 through 12 inclusive, therefore be it resolved that for the 2021-2022 school year, the San Marino City Unified School District has provided each pupil with sufficient textbooks and instructional materials aligned to the academic content standards and consistent with the cycles and content of the curriculum frameworks. It's been moved by Dr. Hill, second by Mr. Tillman. Discussion? All right, let's go ahead and vote.
$6.2 now. They already voted.
I'm sorry, I didn't see the vote. So motion, did it come up? All right, motion carries. 6.2, public hearing and adoption of the memorandum of understanding, temporary revision of substitute teacher compensation rate for the 2021-2022 school year between the San Bernardino City Unified School District and the Communications Workers of America, Local 9588. All right.
Okay.
Do I have to open it again?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, at this time, we'll open the public hearing. Ms. Cunningham, any comments? All right, there are no comments, so I'll go ahead and close the hearing. Be it resolved that the Board of Education adopts the memorandum of understanding temporary revision of substitute teacher compensation rate for the 2021-2022 school year between the San Marino City Unified School District and the Communications Workers of America, Local 9588.
Moved.
It's been moved by Mr. Tillman, second by Dr. Flores. Any discussion? All right, let's go ahead and vote. All right, motion carries. Thank you. 6.3, public hearing adoption of tentative successor agreement successor between San Marino City Unified School District and the Communications Workers of America, Local 9588. We'll go ahead and open public hearing. Ms. Cunningham, any comments? There are no comments. We'll go and close the hearing. Be it resolved that the Board of Education adopts a tentative agreement successor between the San Marino City Unified School District and the Communications Workers of America, Local 9588.
Second.
Been moved by Mr. Tillman, second by Dr. Flores. Any discussion? Let's go ahead and vote. All right, motion carries. We'll be moving on to 7.1, San Bernardino Teachers Association. Do we have anybody here from SBTA? Oh.
Good evening, Vice President Wyatt. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Welcome, Ms. Akala.
Good evening, Vice President Wyatt, members of the board and cabinet. I'm Ashley Vitas Alcala, President of the San Bernardino Teachers Association. And I'm speaking to you tonight on behalf of the members of SBTA. We are now 2 months into the school year, and as a district, we continue to face many challenges. A severe shortage of substitute teachers, short-term independent study concerns, health and safety concerns, TikTok challenges, escalating issues within our school community. The social emotional needs of our staff and students, even those among us who may seem okay, really may not be. These are things we should be working to solve collaboratively, and we're ready to roll up our sleeves when you are.
Alrighty, was that her comment or did she get cut off?
It's finished.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Ms. Akala. Okay, 7.2, California School Employee Association.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can. Welcome.
You're welcome. Thanks. Good evening, board members, staff, and any community that might be still watching. My name is Vanessa Messes. I am the Sergeant at Arms for Chapter 183 and a campus security officer for the district. I really can't believe it's been a month and a half, almost 2 months since the beginning of the 2021-22 school year, and it feels like it's already been a lot longer. I'd like to take some time to thank all of our classified brothers and sisters for making the beginning of the school year feel as normal as possible, and making as smooth of a transition as possible from the virtual learning back to a full in-person learning. Especially with the enormous vacant positions and the shortages that are going across the district, as well as our counterpart Ashley mentioned, that we are dealing with the same TikTok challenges and different things that have been going on since coming back in person. But we're still doing an amazing job every single day. I'd also like to highlight our awesome health aides and the staff who are helping out or working with the COVID liaisons throughout the district and keeping all of our sites healthy. And a big thank you to any custodians who have also stepped up to help the district with site shortages by coming in before or staying after their regular shifts to fill in the spots and keep the sites and campuses clean and looking great. With regards to the health and safety of our district, CSEA has been working with the district to work out any clarity needed or clear communications between the custodians and admin with regards to expectations for the additional disinfecting and sanitizing of the work areas, classrooms, or any possible COVID exposures that might be needed. Any additional attention. Lastly, though there have been communications already sent out from the district about the governor's COVID vaccine mandate order, CSEA is in negotiating the effects with the order with the district, and we hope to finalize the negotiations very soon. So thank you again, board, for your time and allowing me to speak tonight. I hope you guys have a good evening and everything goes quickly from here on out. Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate you staying up late with us. All righty, 7.3, Communication Workers of America. Welcome.
In about 25 minutes, we'll be into Wednesday, so that's all good. Anyway, good evening, members of the board and staff. I'm Teresa Hunter with CWA 9588 for the substitute teachers here in San Bernardino. Just want to say I thought I'd make just a combination statement. So instead of remarking back on items 6.2 and 6.3, I'd like to say that we're very happy about the outcome of 6.2 and 6.3. And our guest teachers will most definitely be also. So therefore, we acknowledge and approve both items, 6.2 and 6.3. Thank you so much and have a great evening.
You do the same. Appreciate you. All righty, 7.4, San Bernardino School Police Officers Association. No report? All right, thank you. We'll move on to 8.1, Administrative Report, School Board Appointment to the Personnel Commission. All right, this is just information then? All right. The term of Michael Salazar, the board's appointee to the Personnel Commission, expires on December 1st, 2021. Pursuant to Education Code 45246, subsection B, subsection 1, the governing board shall publicly announce the name of the person it intends to appoint or reappoint. It is the intent of the Board of Education to reappoint Michael Salazar for a 3-year term at its November 2nd, 2021 board meeting. At that time, the board will conduct a public hearing. Following any public comments, the board will take action on the appointment. All righty. 8.2, unaudited actuals, financial report and approval, fiscal year 2020-21. Welcome, Mr. Solons and team.
Thank you, Board Vice President Dr. Wyatt, board members, Superintendent Irvin, and Cabinet. This evening, we will be presenting the unaudited actual reports prepared by our fiscal services and accounting services teams this evening. So tonight, we're going to provide the overview of the unaudited actuals, which is the final budget report for the fiscal year ending 2020-21. And this is a report that outlines our expenditures and revenue, as well as our financial activities for that fiscal year. Following the board approval of the unaudited actuals report, this information will help to inform the review by our third-party auditors for preparation of our 2020-21 audited financial report that will be presented to the board in January. Additionally, we'll be reviewing the comparison of the adopted budget, the estimated and unaudited actuals, and provide an updated ending fund balance and restricted carryover amounts. Next. So this chart shows the historical combined general fund revenues and expenditures for the district. The top line reflects our increasing revenues over a period of time. We can see from 1920 to 2021, we see a sharp increase in our revenues. That is largely due to the one-time revenues that we've received for addressing the impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic. We can also see that we had steady growth in expenditures over the years, with a flattening between 2019-20 and 2020-21. That flattening is largely due to the year-long school closures that reduced expenditures across all categories, including utilities, transportation, contracts and services, and substitute expenditures. So now we move on to this table, which compares the budget from adoption through unaudited actuals. For our discussion, we'll primarily focus on estimated actuals and unaudited actuals. So we can see on the revenue side, we moved from $813.4 million to $841.7 million between those two periods. What led to that was primarily a change in how we report the one-time revenues that we received. We did see some smaller increases with Medi-Cal administrative activities, as well as some lottery funding, but the largest proportion are related to the reporting changes for those one-time dollars. On the revenue side, we see that we were originally projecting revenues of just over $775 million, and we actually realized expenditures of just over $756.5 million. So primarily the decrease in expenditures, we had some small changes in the salary and benefits pieces, but the largest components were in the material supplies and services where we had unspent budgets, largely due to changes or challenges with the supply chain as we ordered products and those products were not received prior to the end of the fiscal year. Additionally, we had some unspent budgets with our LCAP and TSSP budgets. So ultimately, what we see is we increased, positive increase to our fund balance of $85.2 million, leaving us with an ending fund balance for a combined general fund of $136.8 million. So I'll just briefly take you down to line 8, where of that 136.8 million, 56.4 million is attributed to our reserves for restricted programs. The remaining amount goes to our 2% reserve for economic uncertainties, and then 65 million reserved for our deficit spending that we see over the multi-year. So as shared on the previous slide, we had just under 56.4 million of the ending fund balance attributable to our restricted carryover amounts, meaning that these funds can only be used for the purposes designated by those funding sources. As mentioned previously, we can see the expanded learning reporting requirements change. So we have a large unspent fund balance on the restricted side of 31.4 million, in addition to the 3.8 million for paraprofessional staffing. That makes up the bulk of our reserves for the restricted. So moving on, this is just an overview of the average percentage of unrestricted ending fund balance by district type, as well as the percentage for San Bernardino City Unified over the last 3 years. We can see from 2019-20 to 2020-21, the fund balance has increased from 4.29% to 10.63% as a result of those one-time savings from the district closure and remaining in district distance learning for the last fiscal year or last school year. So while the state requires a minimum reserve for economic uncertainties of 2%, there are several considerations for maintaining fund balances above that. Here are some reasons why a district may elect to maintain fund balances above the 2% requirement. For a district such as San Bernardino City Unified, one of the main reasons would be our consistent decline in enrollment, as well as our ongoing deficit spending that we're projecting over the multi-years. So with that, that is an overview of the unaudited actuals. However, now that we have completed the unaudited actuals, it's important and it's a good time to share an update to the 2021-22 budget, where we incorporate the new beginning balance that we just acquired from the unaudited actuals. We'll discuss the opportunities to address the emerging challenges that we see as a result of some of the new information we've received. So with this is a multi-year projection that is reflective of our adopted budget as well as our 45-day budget revision. We're also incorporating information related to our enrollment trends that we've seen since the start of the school year. So as we look at this, we can see changes in our ending fund balance on line 6, resulting from an increase in deficit spending beginning in 2023 and carrying through to 2023-24, where we see a negative ending fund balance. And that is accelerated deficit spending, primarily attributable to that additional decline in enrollment beyond what was projected in the adopted budget. If we move down to line 11, we can see of the in 22-23, while we did have a positive ending fund balance of $10.3 million, that was not sufficient enough to fulfill our requirement for 2% reserve for economic uncertainty, bringing us $7.8 million short of that requirement. So That's the bad news. So as we look at this, we shared this previously with the board at the State of the District update, where the Business Services Department is looking at strategies and a phased approach to addressing the challenges that we see in our budget now and into the future. So as part of that, we'd like to focus on phase one, which is the restructuring of current expenditures and maximizing existing resources that are available to help offset or eliminate some of the pressure that we see on our base funding. So to that end, we've identified a shift of up to $15 million from our base expenditures and programs that are available to shift to our supplemental and concentration grants that we have available. And we'll show you what that looks like in the multi-year projections. So as we see, this is the same table that was presented just a few slides earlier, where we're demonstrating the impacts of the increased decline in enrollment beyond the adopted budget. However, on line 4, we've included the base expenditures shift to supplemental concentration grant of $15 million ongoing over the next 3 years. Now, conversely to what we saw on the previous slide, if we look at the ending balance, we see through the years, while we continue to decline as a result of deficit spending, our deficit spending has slowed, and we retain a positive ending fund balance through all 3 years. So what that translates is that while we have a positive fund balance, we're able to meet our reserve for economic uncertainties in all 3 years, and we still have additional funding at the end of year 3 of $8.7 million that we could set aside for that additional deficit spending. So with that, just to summarize the tables that we went through, we have available funding through LCAP priorities that have been budgeted, but expenditures have not been yet allocated or designated. We also received the additional $21.8 million in new concentration grant funding. That is to provide additional staffing to increase student-to-staff ratio and deliver direct services to students. Of that, we're proposing to shift $15 million from our base to provide that relief to our base expenditures and reduce or slow that deficit spending over the period, the 3-year period, allowing us to have that positive ending fund balance, so that as we move forward towards first interim, we can align our budget and work to qualify positively. So with the remaining funds, we will staff are preparing plans to utilize those funds to make sure that we're maximizing those resources to deliver the most effective services to meet the needs of our students. And with that, we have the budget and LCAP calendar that takes us from where we are today at the unaudited actuals and takes us all the way through as we look at preparing our budget and LCAP for the following fiscal year. And with that, I thank you, and I will take questions. But before I do that, I wanted to thank Janet and Jim and their teams for all of their hard work in compiling this information. We are a large budget. This is no small effort, and they work very hard, and their teams work very hard. So thank you to both Jim and Janet.
Mr. Tillman?
Page 12, at the bottom. So the LCAP priorities budget, but not yet allocated at adoption. That $19.5 million is different than the line below where it says additional concentration funding provided to increase services and adult to student ratio?
That is correct. That is different funding.
So both of those are new funding for this school year?
Pardon me?
Both of those are new funding for this school year?
So the $21.8 million is new funding. The $19.5 million was in the adopted budget that the board adopted in June. However, those expenditures, while they're budgeted, they have not been designated for specific uses yet. So combined with the $19.5 million with the new $21.8 million, what we're proposing is that we shift $15 million from our base into these available supplemental concentration grant dollars.
You're going to use, and I guess, are you saying that you could use it for the LCOP priorities and
So,
No?
yeah, so to answer your question, so it could be a combination of both funding sources. However, because we have that restriction on the 21.8 million with adult to student ratios, there are only specific things that we could move in.
You do decide, or are you going to bring back proposals on what you, what, what you're recommending that the $19.5 million actually be spent on? In terms of, is that going to be one-time money or actual positions or what?
So that's ongoing money. So both of those sources are ongoing sources. So they can be used for ongoing purposes or one-time purposes. So to answer your question, part of the funding, particularly the 21.8 million, the district has to complete an LCAP supplement. So that will spell out and identify and take stakeholder feedback or input. And that has to be approved by the board. So that will be part of the process where we will outline that information.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Flores?
Thank all of the people who, Mr. Cunningham and Janet, for preparing this. It's a lot of work. I have a lot of questions. If we just stay on 12, page 12, 11, slide 11. So can you explain the ESSER funds? Why in 2021, 2020, 2021, we are at a 20 million deficit when we have millions of dollars that we got?
I'm sorry, you kind of cut out. I didn't hear the full question.
I'm sorry. Do you need hearing aids too?
Maybe.
Okay. Anyway, I'm laughing because I need them. Anyway, so the 20 million deficit from the ESSER funds, can you explain why we're in deficit when we got millions of dollars?
So line 3.
Yes, line 3.
So line 3. So these and great question. So the dollar amounts on line 3, these were included in the adopted budget for 21, 22, and the multi-year. And then the 20 million that you're speaking to, that was included in the 22 or 2020, 2021 budget. So what those funds were used are to offset the deficit spending. So while we did receive a lot of money, that money was one time and that money was restricted. So at the budget adoption that was presented to the board, there was information provided to the board that there would be the need to provide ESSER dollars, one-time ESSER dollars over the multi-years to bolster the budget and slow the deficit spending. So that was part of the
Part of it?
That was part of the
That
work
was
to
the
balance
ESSER
the
1,
budget.
because we got ESSER 2 and we got ESSER 3.
So this is ESSER 2 and 3 that we're speaking to. And Janet can correct me if I'm wrong. So 2021 was ESSER 1. The dollars going forward from 21, 22 through 22, 20 or 23, 24 are a combination of ESSER 2 and ESSER 3.
We backfilled with ESSER funds to shore up our deficit.
To slow the deficit spending.
Line 4 now. I know you told Danny something, but I didn't quite understand that 15 million. Why is that a deficit from our supplemental and concentration?
So it's not a deficit in the way you would think. It actually is reducing the expenditures on the general fund, because what you're doing is you're using existing expenditures and you're moving in expenditures from one resource to another. So
so this is a lump sum. So where
Correct.
are we? Is it in personnel? Is it for instructional materials? Because this is, according to the legislature, it has to be spent on EL kids, foster kids, homeless kids, and low
Sure.
economic kids.
Yeah.
How is this money being distributed?
So when we look at the options, the biggest portion is related to class size reduction. So we maintain class sizes below what's in our contract. And so those class sizes are specifically designed to support those populations. And so that is one portion of the funding. Additional portions of the funding come in professional development that we provide staff. So there are things that we as a district are providing and have continued to provide to support our students. However, we are funding them out of the base, and we have the ability to fund them from other resources, including supplemental and title.
So we're using 15 million of the, what's the total of supplemental concentration funds that we got?
So the total is 168 million.
168 million, so 15 million of this is being used for class size reduction?
Yes.
And nothing else?
Well, it's a combination. So we have class size reduction, but we also have professional development that we currently pay out of the base that also could be moved in because it is supplemental.
Like to see how that's distributed.
Okay.
And then line 5, what does that mean?
So line 5, that is the decrease after everything, the revenues, expenditures, and the offsets are taken. That is the your excess or your deficit. So now your deficit spending goes to $7.8 million.
These are all projections, correct?
These are all projections, correct.
So we really don't know. We only know up to 2021, 22, not 2022, 23, or 23, 24. Those are projections.
Yes, correct.
They're not,
And I would
they're
even-
not actuals.
They are not actuals.
Okay. And then, okay, that's that one. Okay. And then if we go backwards to slide 10, up above, line 6 on ending balance.
Yes.
So ending balance 18.3, that's just a projection. We really don't know it.
That is correct. It's projections, and it indicates at the top of the table.
So we shouldn't be like panicked.
No,
Okay.
but I would add that prior to 2021, the unrestricted general fund deficit spent the prior 3 years. The last year, it deficit spent $21 million.
We may have rain, I don't know what they call it, a rainfall, because it's just reported that we have 5 billion additional money, and we may have even more by January. Okay, so line 11, how hard and fast is 7.8 and 36.3?
They are projections.
Projections again. Okay, just wanted to know, let everybody know that's just a projection. Slide 7, why maintain an ending fund balance higher than the 2% required reserves? These are decisions that the board will make, and you're just recommending. But I do have concerns of uncapped health and welfare benefits. We are locked in for 2 years. And they're not uncapped. I recall that was one of the conditions that we had with our unions. So you're new, so I don't know if you know that, but they are not uncapped.
Are we experiencing increases?
They are capped for the next 2 years, this year and the following year.
So we have increases. They are capped increases, but they are increases nonetheless.
Well, I would like to know how much that is, because I don't think that it's fair to say that they're uncapped when they are capped. So just an observation, so.
Correct, yeah. Yeah, so, and I'll just reiterate to Dr. Flores's comment is the rate at which benefits are increased is capped at a certain level, but it is still an increase over prior years.
I'd like to know what it is.
Sure, certainly.
But that statement is not true.
Okay.
Anyway, And also, I have an idea of how we could save money. We don't hire anybody else. And also, do not fill any of our vacancies. So anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Flores.
Dr. Hill?
Ellen, thank you so much for the presentation and the work that Ms. King and Mr. Cunningham did to support this. I just want to say thank you for a good presentation, but I want to say even more thank you for going over all this in the agenda debriefing, because it helps me to review it again before I get here. So I just want you to know how much I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you all for your time.
All right, thank you. And now we are moving to, this is the 8.3 section, correct? And for the 8.3, we do have Natasha Flores that wants to talk on this item. Hello and welcome. You might want to pull it down. Is it on? It doesn't sound like it's on.
It's on now.
Okay.
Hi, everybody. Apologies. I was planning on speaking during public comment, but I thought you might pull the agenda items, so I pulled mine. Thank you, everybody, for giving me the opportunity to speak. I'm a teacher at Indian Springs High School. For a long time, this district has put a tremendous emphasis on graduation rates coupled with no child left behind, movement of students from school to school, from district to district, and a lot of weight placed on testing. And we have arrived at this point. There's definitely many more factors that lead to underperformance in A through G status. And additionally, the testing pressures that students live with are not necessarily a real indicator of potential or ability. And I'm speaking towards the college and career success plan, if we were put it in perspective. As a teacher and a former student of this district, I want to put emphasis on pathways and academies and how they've pushed our students forward in the past years, especially, and helped bridge the gap. My experience is not only as a teacher, but as a pathway lead in the last 4 to 5 years in the district. I've been able to, with my team and my campus at Arroyo Valley before I was at Indian Springs, get the gold status, gold certification for the pathway, and I've watched students change. I've watched them grow, and the pathways and academies have helped to build community amongst students, teachers, parents, local businesses, and industry professionals. It's inclusive of all students at high schools and some middle schools now that we've begun to recruit, increase parent involvement, increase the village or eyes on the students at promise. I don't like to say at risk. Positive increase in student engagement and attendance, increased A through G status and high school graduation rates. There's higher self-efficacy in our students and growth and tenacity. They've helped build skill sets to enter the local workforce and give back to our community here in San Bernardino. A lot of the resources, thousands of hours of sweat equity has made us district leaders in college and career readiness and pathways and academies, and it's given us recognition across not only the state but the country. In closing, I've personally witnessed the success of students built on a foundation of integrated programs of study, work-based learning, integrated student supports. Pathways offer multiple opportunities for students to apply their skills over a period of time, not just 1 year, but for 4 years. Pathways, and there's a commitment to excellence and implementation with fidelity with these pathways and academies. And we'll see student success increase as we see that fidelity increase. And I just want to speak to that because I know that as we move forward, funding isn't always there from the state. So I'm asking for the support of our board and our cabinet as we move forward because we've put a lot of hours and a lot of time, not just myself as a teacher, but students, parents, community members. And I just like to make sure that as we move forward, we think about those things and people feel appreciated. So thank you so much for your time. I know it's late.
Thank you. Okay, I believe 8.3, the San Bernardino City Unified School District updates safe faculty facilities and operations, teaching and learning service delivery model implementation. Welcome.
I think it's appropriate to say good morning. Good morning to everybody. Good morning, Dr. Rogers, Dr. Wyatt, Superintendent Irving, board members, community, whoever is still watching. Today or this evening, I'll stop being facetious. We're going to bring to you a presentation that will give some updates to our current status. So next slide, please. We will start coming back to you each board meeting from now through the end of Mr. Urban's listening and learning tour to provide updates in these 3 areas specifically: safe facilities and operations. So you'll hear about our COVID-19 numbers and our standard operating procedures handbook. You'll hear about employee vaccination verification protocol. So that's all COVID safe facilities and operations. The next area we'll come back to you each time on will be updates on teaching and learning. We'll include virtual academy in that each time. Tonight you'll hear specifically about college and career success plan and our STEAM. And then finally we'll close out with the service delivery model implementation. Next slide, please. So with that, I'll introduce or welcome up Mr. Vatir to talk about the COVID numbers.
Thank you, Dr. Menares. Good morning, board and
Welcome.
cabinet. It's good to see everyone. So as you can see on this slide here, and this is data from 6/28 through 9/4 and earlier yesterday evening, we received numbers from September 5th through the 11th. So what we're starting to experience within our area of responsibility within the county, the cities, and within our school district is a decline in cases, new community cases as it relates to COVID. So the last chart that you do not see on there, the last data set, is from September 5th to the 11th. Our cases within the city of San Bernardino are at 20 per 100,000. That's down from 28. And 22 within the school district boundaries, which is down from 26. So we are seeing that curve that we experienced same time last year. With over 47,000 students and 8,000 staff back in session, the data that we're seeing is showing us that the preventive measures and the response protocols that the board asked us to put in place at the schools are working and working well. Our PCR lab kits, lab test kits, as well as the 15-minute rapid test kits are occurring at our schools in an effort to keep our students and staff on campus and safe. We've performed about 1,200 kit tests in the past 3 weeks, which is allowing our staff to stay and students to stay on campus. Our nurses and COVID liaisons with our AM partners who are here with me continue to fine-tune their management of COVID concerns within our district. And at this time, I'd like to turn it over to Jade Stewart, our program manager from AM, so that she can give an update on the standard operating procedures.
Greetings, everyone.
Evening or morning.
We're pleased to announce that our staff at AMLLC has developed a standard operating procedures handbook in partnership with the district and county DPH. It provides a comprehensive overview of the processes in place at SBCUSD schools to reduce the spread of COVID-19 and manage COVID concerns. It also provides a framework for clear communication with all stakeholders and aids in ensuring consistency of services throughout the district. All procedures are informed by local and state guidance to facilitate an appropriate COVID-19 response to the students and staff of SBCUSD, and is focused on keeping K-12 students healthy and attending school in person. This handbook has been incorporated into our training program, and in terms of overall training, our COVID liaisons have now reached a 98% completion rate for all their ongoing training. Training provided for our COVID liaisons includes both online coursework and live virtual training with content and oversight provided by our staff members with extensive backgrounds in both clinical and public health. Finally, AMLLC aims to keep SBCUSD operating with the most current guidance and to be ready to update protocols and implement those changes as quickly as possible. As a result, we have created this SOP handbook to be a living document with the understanding that guidance may change throughout the school year as we continue to learn more about COVID-19, and it will be updated to reflect changes in state and local COVID-19 safety protocols and guidance as appropriate.
Once again, glad to be here. Dr. Rogers, Vice President Wyatt, Dr. Wyatt, Board, Mr. Irving. I'd like to talk briefly about the California Department of Public Health vaccination verification requirement and how that came to be and how that will impact our district and our employees. The California Department of Public Health has required every organization, public and private school, K through 12, to put into effect a verification process for employees to demonstrate that they either have been vaccinated or agree to weekly test. So it's either or, not a mandate to vaccinate, but a requirement to verify vaccination status and or agree to weekly testing. And we have until October 15th to make sure that that system is up and running and in place. Next slide, please. And so what we've decided to do in our district in SBCUSD is to make sure that we have a judicious and efficient process for carrying out that public health order. And so there's 4 pillars basically, or 4 areas that we focused on. The first is timely communication. So far, we've sent out 3 communications to our employees, or 3 documents citing the public health order and how it might impact them, providing direction for our employees. We are also partnering with Loma Linda University to have a town hall on the 28th to discuss vaccinations. What are vaccinations? How do they impact us? To kind of help calm fears and anxieties around vaccinations. Also, vaccination verification instructions that will be clear and a living FAQ for our employees. Communication is key. Over-communicating is key. And the next pillar would be the vaccination verification process. We've partnered with our county office, SBCSS, who's put together a very clear and concise method for San Bernardino County employees, school employees, to upload verification or vaccination verification documents using our employee self-services database, or the way we receive our pay warrants. Very easy. You can log on, click on vaccination, upload your documents. Those documents would only be seen by human resources. It's a confidential process, meaning it goes from that system to our EPIC system, which HR has oversight of. And then we hopefully will be able to begin our document uploading by October 1st, 2021. And then the third pillar, weekly testing for those employees who may choose not to be vaccinated. It's still a choice. But under this requirement, have to weekly test with the district. We are partnering with AMLLC for those PCR tests. We're developing systems along with our union partners, meaning negotiating the effects with them on how those tests will be conducted, meaning at your sites or at departments, self-swabs, self-testing, and protocols that are very easy to follow. The results are forthcoming. So that's an easy process as well. Might not be too easy to roll out as we're trying to get the systems up in place, but it's an easy process once we have it in place. And then finally, for our employees that may express concerns or religious exemptions of some sort for vaccinations, there's the interactive process with our affirmative action office. They can engage our affirmative action office in that process to discuss any exemptions that they might have for vaccinations. So those are the 4 areas. We're working on those systems now. We're working with our union partners as well to make sure that we do this very thoughtfully, very judiciously, and also keep in mind that these are very sensitive topics. I'm going to...
Oh, can you hear me? And Dr. Flores?
Yes, Dr. Funch, can you hear me? Hear me?
I can
Okay,
now.
there. Dr. Funches, you said that all our unions are involved. In what capacity are they involved?
So we've been to the table, and if I said all unions, I mean CSEA and SBTA at this time, meaning
Our police union is not involved?
beginning to negotiate the effects. So they can choose to negotiate the effects of this order, or they can choose to just go ahead and allow the district to do what it needs to do to make sure that we put the order into effect.
What is this collaboration? What does it look like?
So it looks like coming to the table, talking about the requirements, looking at the conditions or the working conditions or the effects of such order, and coming to an agreement on how we roll out the order. For example, during the workday, should employees have access to the testing before work or during work hours? That's negotiable, right? So things like that.
Well, it has come to my attention that a certificated employee was turned away at testing and told to go somewhere else, and did not want to come forth because of retaliation and being reprimanded. And I hope that doesn't happen.
Okay.
And so if we start to get complaints like that, that's really unacceptable.
Sure. I would have to look into that.
And I think that SBTA and CSEA presidents and leadership need to be present, and they also have to be involved in how this is rolled out and all the conditions that are in there. And I don't know who will be in charge of the testing. Will AMLLC be in charge of the testing? Who will be in charge of the testing?
So there are 2 options that we're looking at. AMLLC are our partners in the district right now that have the PCR test, but also our employees can choose to be tested with their own physician or where they feel comfortable and just provide the results.
Okay. All right, thank you. And I would like to ask Mr. Vatier several questions. Mr. Vatier, are you aware of how low our vaccination rates are in a lot of our zip codes?
I'm aware of the vaccination rates within our community.
But within our school zip codes?
Yes.
When you say yes, what do you mean by that?
So I'm aware, based on what the county dashboard shows, as far as what the vaccination rates are within our community for those that can get vaccinated.
Do we have a spreadsheet regarding the low vaccination rates per our school zip codes?
We can provide that. I don't have it in this presentation.
Because they're pretty low. And I know it exists. I've been getting a lot of complaints about cleaning procedures where teachers have been informed of COVID positive and no one comes in to clean the area, and teachers are left to do their own cleaning. That is unacceptable. Who's in charge of that?
That would be the site custodians at the schools.
No, but who's in charge of telling the site custodians to go in and do the cleanup when they have tested positive people?
That would be the site administrator whom they report to at the school site.
What's the procedure? Does the teacher go and tell the site administrator?
No, so
Or does the teacher tell the custodian?
So the site administrators are involved in all things COVID on their campuses, from the initial investigation through notifications, through cleaning, all those procedures that is in collaboration with the site administrators.
And who oversees the site administrators to make sure that they have the classrooms cleaned?
Our executive cabinet oversees the site administrators.
Beg your pardon?
Our executive cabinet oversees the site administrators.
And what is your role?
As it relates to cleaning?
Yeah, who's in charge? Who's ultimately responsible for implementing the COVID protocols? Is it the site administrator? Is it the COVID liaison? Or is it you?
So as it relates to cleaning, that would be under Sam Precy, our administrator of operations, our maintenance and operations director, and our custodial supervisors, who have already been trained and have trained our custodians on how to do that work.
So right now, we have a gap between who's in charge and who actually does the work to clean it up. That's my issue. And Superintendent Irvin, it's unacceptable. It's unacceptable. And safety is not the issue. I mean, it is the issue, and we're not taking it seriously. And, you know, who do people complain to or to get this done if if they're not following through? I mean, it's unacceptable, and people do not feel safe. This is not one occasion. This is not two. It's multitudes. And teachers are cleaning their own rooms, and they're afraid to come forth. So, thank you.
No, I see you just popped at the same time, Mr. Salas-Benita, and I didn't get I'll let you go ahead and go, and then I'll officially, I didn't click my own button. So, okay, and then put me on, wait. Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
I just wanted to clarify really quickly, because, you know, I think what's happening, at least in my perspective and understanding, when it comes to the roles of individuals within our school district, and I know that you've been doing a great job before COVID with regards to emergency and safety protocols and so forth. So I guess and I'm glad Dr. Flores asked a question, because I wasn't sure. So when it comes to making sure that this is happening across the board, can you hear me? Across the board and school sites, it goes back to the site administrators, not necessarily you overseeing that. It's more the site administrators.
Correct. So the procedures have been put in place by a task force as far as how the cleaning needs to occur, when it needs to occur. There's been training that's been given to all of our custodians by those who are tasked to train them on how to clean classrooms. And the notification procedures are in place for on that campus, who notifies them, when they're notified, and how to clean. We do have hotlines, anonymous hotlines, and links. So if those things are not occurring, that employees can report that to us so we can look into it. I'm sorry, Mr.
No, thank you for clarifying that, only because, like I mentioned earlier, you know, sometimes we automatically assume, at least I did, automatically assume, well, Eric Vitier is in charge of everything emergency, everything safety. But in reality, some of those roles, you're not necessarily in charge of. It's more about giving the numbers and looking at data, I imagine.
Yes. So I coordinate a lot of things. So to make sure that the things are getting done, to make sure they're in their right zone. So it's a team approach, as it has been as we've managed COVID from the onset. So to make sure that our custodial team knows what the rules and regulations are following the rules and regulations, are training our employees how to do that the communication methods are in place for when there's a case to report it up, to get the rooms cleaned. I am not out supervising every case or every custodian or every classroom to make sure it gets cleaned. Those are systems that we have in place within our district. And my job's to kind of orchestrate to make sure that we're following all the recent guidance, that our administrators, our maintenance and operations folks have the latest guidance that if the rules change, that they're adjusting and adapting as well.
Thank you for clarifying.
You're welcome.
Okay, and I just wanted to add that I was going to ask a question again because at our last board meeting, and teachers have called me, right? And I've reported it right away. They were fine because they needed to get it taken care of. But I distinctly remember at our last board meeting, it should be in the notes that I asked that we needed there needed to be the protocol told to the teachers or whomever how to do that, because it was seeming as though individuals we're waiting, we get the information, but they need it now. And so even if we rolled back the tape, those were my specific words, was to make sure that teachers know how to report that if they walked into their classroom and their classroom had not been clean, to immediately contact whomever that person is that's within the protocol of the safety. And I wasn't here at the very beginning when we started all of the presentations, but I wanted the board to also know from input from all of them that these specific items that Dr. Menares was saying is standardized. We were standardizing these so we can ask the questions about COVID-19 or the employee vaccinations, things that we're hearing, because these are reoccurring just like we were when we were in COVID. At the onset of it, we wanted to hear the data, and that's why these are here. So whatever comes up from us as board members, then we reiterate it. They will put the presentation so that the community knows. But I know last board meeting, 2 weeks ago, I guess it would have been, that was what I said then, that the teachers need to know. You don't walk into stay there, tell someone, because if you tell us, it's going to take a little while to get to them, and then you've had kids, in a place they shouldn't be. So I just wanted to clear that up again, that is what was assured that we were doing. And I believe that, okay, it's Dr. Flores. He has you green.
I had another follow-up question, and it had to do, have you guys conducted an audit to see if these protocol procedures are functioning well or not?
We haven't conducted a specific audit on that. However, we do respond timely and appropriately when we get concerns from either our school sites or our classroom teachers. So our classroom teachers are involved from the onset. So the initial contact, if there's a positive case in their classroom,
And Eric, because there's a lot of teachers that are saying they're not being followed through. So, and they are really afraid to come forward because of reprisal and retaliation. And it has happened. So I just want you to not be in la la land.
So Dr. Flores,
I just wanted to make that statement. That's it.
So I'll
Norris, is
still
there some
respond.
clarification? Go ahead and provide that clarification.
I shall. So we have a team that meets on a weekly basis. It includes our union leads. It includes district level individuals who do the oversight and the development of the protocols. And last week, I asked them to start thinking about questions we would put into the survey that we are going to be designing this Thursday to then send out. Our goal is to have it out by Friday, if not by next week, so that we can do some progress monitoring and find out exactly which schools we need to go deeper and provide deeper support. In addition to that, so that should get quite a few individuals to give us information. Whenever we're out at sites, we are also going and we're talking to the liaisons and we're talking to individuals to see how things are going. So there's a combination of data being collected. Thank you.
Related to the survey that I asked that you all do, that Ginger took my questions about two or three board meetings ago.
We are putting that survey together starting on Thursday.
Hill? Thing on?
Congratulate AM LLC, because I know when this is over, you'll be leaving. But when I called Mr. Tier about COVID testing, I believe it was Evelyn who gave me the test. Wonderful person, did a great job. And by the time I got home, I think I had the results on the first test. So I just want to make sure before you left that you knew that how much I appreciate. Because if all the liaisons is like Evelyn, you train some quite well. And I just want you and her to know how much I appreciate it and how fast. Now, the question I have, when it's done at the school site, is it done that fast? Done as quickly as it was with me?
So the question is, when it's done as a school site, does it happen as quickly as it happened for Dr. Hill?
So the process itself is, so the self-swab is the same with the 15-minute rapid test as it is with the PCR test. The PCR test does have to leave the school via a courier system that we have set up with the California Department of Public Health, and they'll get us the results back typically in 24 hours, sometimes less. It just depends on what time of the day they leave the school site. The rapid test kits are the 15-minute ones that are done on site, and that is real time within 15 minutes, and that is the service that AM LLC, in collaboration with a grant from the Department of Public Health, is providing to us right now. So that is that process so that we can work to keep our kids in school.
Second test, I got the results back in 2 days.
Yeah, and that likely a PCR test for that one.
Is that it for the, I don't, it seem like these mics are cutting in and out. Is this still under the employee verification protocol? Are we still going? There's more?
We're going to segue on over to the next piece.
To the teaching and learning?
Yes.
Okay.
And I am standing in for Dr. Rodriguez tonight just to give a quick update on the Virtual Academy. As you know, board, it is our goal to make sure that our scholars and their families that choose the virtual option are able to be enrolled. And right now, if you look at the enrollment of 1,781 scholars there, and then segue down to the staffing is comprised of 75 educators, 25 of the guest educators, which about half of them are becoming permanent educators there, and working with fiscal and HR. We are hiring teachers right now for the Virtual Academy as well, and also looking at transferring teachers who still may want to go over to the Virtual Academy from our brick and mortar sites. On the interest list, there are 1,292 as of the last count, asterisk next to the count just because there might be some fluctuation. Two things that are happening right now with that interest list. Number one, being verified by staff at the Virtual Academy in conjunction with the school sites to make sure that those scholars actually still want to pursue the virtual option. And then number two, are they still enrolled at their home schools and going to school? And if not, what can we do in terms of independent study? So those are the two things that are going on with the Virtual Academy. We plan to give you an update each board meeting and every Friday update to let you know where we are in terms of the enrollment and the staffing. We gave ourselves an ambitious timeline to make sure that we staff the Virtual Academy in September with all the current enrolled scholars, and we've done that. Now for those in the interest list, we're looking at giving ourselves another ambitious timeline mid-October to get all the staff, just because hiring of educators, we want quality teachers, a combination of temporary teachers hired outside of the district or current substitute teachers who are ready to be hired, and any educators that may want to transfer over from brick and mortar sites. So that's what we're doing to make sure that we get the Virtual Academy staffed.
Okay, Ms. Rosales Medina?
I know we have a long agenda, a long presentation, so I'll be really quick with this one. For the interest list, we've had that list for a while. Has the numbers changed? Because I have to look back at what we had last board meeting. It was at 1,200, I believe, too, as well. Has it shifted and changed since the last board meeting?
Since the last board meeting, it may have gone up some, slightly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if we can, honestly, this is a lot of students that are just waiting. Out of those students that are waiting, are some of them not in school at all? Or are these students that are currently in school?
That's the information that we're gathering. Some have chosen not to be in school. However, we're looking at and offering independent study for them as we take them in from the waiting list to the Virtual Academy as staffing gets updated, if you will.
And also, I know we're naming it interest list, But typically when we have, like, for instance, the CAPS program and other programs, we call it the waiting list. Is there a reason why we haven't shifted that?
To the waiting list?
Yes.
You know what? That's a good question that we might be able to look into and get back to you. I don't want to speak for. Go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you for your question, Ms. Medina. So the reason we didn't use wait list is because we didn't want parents having the children sitting home and not being educated. So interest list shows that they're interested in it. We still want them in our schools while we're working to get the staffing in place.
Thank you for the clarification.
You're welcome.
I think since we've had the numbers really high and, it feels like I keep repeating myself. I get messages on Messenger, I get messages on Facebook, and parents who are in the case, and we just had Mr. Vitier speak on the cases in the classroom. Some parents are worried and some of the students are worried, so then they go into this academy or are part of the interest list, but yet it feels like we haven't really done what we need to do to decrease that number, so that way more students are able to participate. But I'm hoping that there is light in the tunnel, that we're going to start addressing this, but it needs to really be addressed. I appreciate you bringing this information.
I wanted to ask for clarification on it because I was going to ask that question as well. This number also is going up. So is the assumption people are even now with kids in class or saying, getting on this same list at times? So are students that are currently enrolled, but maybe the parents are feeling, uncomfortable, is it adding to this number goes up? It's going up because people that are enrolled are also interested if it's possible.
Interest to enroll there.
Okay, so
Correct.
it will continue to fluctuate.
Right.
And then can you tell me what is the number of teachers needed to fill that interest list? What would the number be?
So the other day working with the virtual academy, it could be anywhere between 60 and 80 educators. That was the estimated number for that number of scholars that are interested, because they're anywhere from TK to 12th grade.
60 to 80 teachers are needed. And do we have those, or we're waiting for them to apply, or is this part of our shortage across the world?
So right now we are recruiting and interviewing not right now, but we are recruiting and interviewing. So we have flown jobs on EdJoin, and we are interviewing and sending candidates for the virtual academy to interview. On top of that, we are looking at where the scholars are coming from, maybe interested in leaving our brick and mortar sites, to determine if we should transfer educators from those sites as well. So it's a combination of new hires and transfers.
And I think that's important to communicate, right? Because we know, number one, we don't want the interest list to be about kids being out and waiting in anticipation of, and we just need the clarity of, you could turn the TV on and hear it.
Right.
There was a shortage of teachers before we even got to COVID, and it sounds like there has been a further impact with trying to create these virtual academies because various districts are doing this. But that messaging is part of it. If we don't have the staff to do it, and we can accommodate or encourage or and continue to shore up our safety protocols. So because I wouldn't want to feel, again, as we say, like today, this moment in time, I wouldn't say we're unsafe, because if we are, we know what this board has said about safety, right? We don't wait 1, 2, or 3 days. So we're saying it, as safe can be. But in this interest, we do want to be clear on what interest mean. And then I think it would be also important to find out how many on that interest list are indeed in school or out. And it sounds like you all were talking about that. And that will require some additional conversations with the parents to find out those specific needs and find out how can we indeed accommodate them in whatever way we can do that. So thank you so much.
Will do. Thank you.
Dr. Flores?
Yes, Dr. Funches, I'm glad to hear that you're beginning to focus on hiring teachers for this. And I do know that parents are keeping their children home, and pretty soon they're going to be going to charters because we are not accommodating them. and this is going to be lost for our ADA. So I don't know how long we can sustain it. I know it's really difficult situation because we don't have the teachers, but I think we have to have that in the back of our minds. You know, how can we serve our kids and our families and do it as fast as we can? So
Understood.
yeah, thank you.
We are working on that in
Yeah.
terms of independent study and getting teachers in place. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Right, Ms. Ceballos?
you. Just kind of going back off of what Dr. Rogers was asking and a few of my colleagues here. Prior to this year coming back, did we have in our district shortages of teachers? So did we have vacancies, and how many did we have?
Gotcha. So our goal each year is to start the school year with a limited number of vacancies. And so this year, I believe the number that we started with at the beginning of the year were anywhere between 10 and 14 vacancies. Now that's kind of normal for a large district like ours as we incur resignations and retirements right at the beginning of the school year. But what has happened as well, we have to staff the virtual academy. So we were able to transfer teachers from our brick and mortar sites over to the virtual academy, which also left our brick and mortar sites with some vacancies that we had to go and backfill as well. So that's the dual challenge there. As we transfer teachers over, where did we have to fill those vacancies that were left open? And I hope that answered your question, Ms. Ceballos.
It does. So essentially we've created more. So I guess in my mind, I was thinking, we have X amount of students attending in person and X amount of students then now are interested in virtual learning. We just take the students and then we transfer some of those teachers.
Right.
We, kind of merge together to make up a full classroom, because I guess what I'm understanding is they're coming from different places. And if there's, I don't know, say like 20 students per classroom, now 5 of these students have left the classroom. Now this teacher only has 15 students. I was just thinking that you were kind of like combining some of that. So I don't know if that's happening.
We were able to do that in some cases. The issue is kids don't come in neat little packages. So at one site, you may have 3 scholars that leave a 4th grade classroom. At another site, you may have 6. At another site, you may have 4. And then all those scholars converge at the virtual academy to make a 4th grade class. Where do you take the teacher from? Well, you may not be able to take a teacher from one of those sites, but you may have to hire. It just depends on how things shape up, right? So there's some complexities in the staffing and transferring of educators.
Right, I understand, and that sounds like a humongous task to try to, play, because then if you're moving a teacher, they may not be very satisfied with that, and so.
And there was one more thing that exacerbated it just a little bit this year, was the leaving the reserved seats at the site, so that we could make sure that if scholars returned, they would stay there. So we had to account for those as well. So it hasn't just been a normal process this year. It's been very complex.
And I remember that we had specifically requested that some of those students keep their places at their home schools. And so I assume that is what adds to the complexities, and having these additional teachers that now we have to, scramble to try to hire. So it's another question that I have about this is, are parents understanding what is virtual academy in its entirety, and are they fully comprehending the different programs that we have, and that they are not what last year used to be?
I think in our communication, I'll say this: when our parents call the virtual academy for intake or for questions about program and with the 3 different options, virtual academy staff are doing a great job explaining exactly what the options are and what the curriculum is and what the instruction is like. Overall, throughout the district, we can always continue to communicate what the learning is like at the VA as opposed to what distance learning was last year. So that communication piece should be ongoing. But I think when parents contact the Virtual Academy, Ms. Ceballos, they do a wonderful job of explaining very thoroughly what the different options are and what their scholars will encounter in terms of being in the classroom there.
Because one of these options is independent study, and that is completely different than the virtual learning that was happening last year. And so some students don't do well with independent study. They need the support and so forth. I just want to make sure that parents are understanding that we're explaining, what this means exactly. And so with that being said, I don't know, should we be looking as a district, toward, I don't know, potentially closing again? Is that even like something that, it's sounding like our numbers are going up. It's sounding like a lot of parents are interested in the list. We're creating a lot of stress on, trying to hire the positions. There are a lot of students that are not currently in school, that are potentially looking to leave our district. Aside from you reaching out and trying to hire these additional teachers that we need, what else are we doing to try to get these students that are on the wait list or interest list from not being at home?
So the first thing is just making sure that we identify how many scholars are actually still enrolled at their home school, which the Virtual Academy is doing in conjunction with the school site. So if you're on the interest list, are you still attending your school site? And if not, then we should be providing independent study for you while we wait to move you into the Virtual Academy. That's the first thing. And then on the second side, Mrs. Ceballos, yeah, you're right. Hiring new teachers is always a process, whether it's especially this time of year where you've already started the school year. So trying to hire teachers for the number of scholars on that interest list and to transfer teachers. So it's a two-pronged approach, making sure that those scholars still want to transfer over or come to the Virtual Academy, and that should they still have the interest, then how do we provide that staffing? And that's hiring and that's transferring educators, which we are embarking on right now and in the process of. And we believe that we can do it. It'll just take a little bit of time.
Well, I hope that, have we identified how many students are not attending out of this number?
I don't have that actual number in front of me because it's being compiled, but we are doing that right now.
Okay. Well, I hope to, maybe you can have that information for us coming
and
up.
We can give it to you probably in the Friday update.
Thank you.
All right.
Madam President, I like to request that we table the rest of the presentation. It's almost going to be one. It's 10 minutes to one. Till next, the College of Career and the STEAM and the service delivery model to next meeting so that we can finish our agenda. Because otherwise, I can't think. It's going to be 1:00.
So board, am I looking at all of you all? I'm probably just as sleepy as, but again, we're trying to streamline meetings as well. So we have to work on it together with us and our comments as well. And we did have another long night of additional things, but this information is important. But if the board wants to stop at this point and we can add these to the next agenda, I'm okay with that. But again, I will say that these items that are on this agenda have been ongoing, updating things that we've needed clarification on. I've received calls from you, board members. I've received calls from the community. I have received calls from teachers. And so we have to make sure that we're providing clarity. It's unfortunate that, the hour is late. But again, I want to stress that the importance of this is these items will be on here ongoing. And the only way we're going to get a community knowing and coming together and just clarifying what we're doing is we have to keep talking about it and everybody keep giving their comments. But having said that, then if we move forward from 8.3, are board members having comments, or they don't want to do that either? Mr. Tillman, you have your light on. What is your question?
It wasn't it was a comment about where we're at right here. And I guess specifically, because I know Mr. Biles mentioned the thought of shutting down, but I see it totally different. The COVID positive numbers are going down. We still have people who can get vaccinated, the adults and the 12 to and above, which is a big deal. That'll keep helping us. And we went over and above. I mean, there are some districts that aren't offering any type of virtual experience. So because we did in the beginning, the parents who really, really wanted it in the beginning, they got that option. We went overboard again and said, hey, we know that some parents are going to start on the virtual side, but then switch to the classroom. So we did say we want to hold those spots because we don't want to penalize for the parents for having that concern. We might be able to readdress that as school moves on, because it's obvious that the parents be more committed to saying we're going to stay either the virtual, which will free up that space. Maybe that's something we should look at doing. Sure. But everybody's having this problem, whether it's our school district, other school districts, all charter schools. Everybody's having the same problem in terms of getting staffing and getting people to come to work. But if you look at the numbers at our schools, the things we put in place are working. It's obvious because you don't have a lot of big numbers at our sites. And you read the national news and you see a lot of states and counties across the country are not doing as well as we are doing. So I want to thank the district staff and employees for doing the job that they've done. But also remember, when we did shut down, it's because the country provided the ability to shut down. Even that at the county of San Bernardino, they put provisions in place that allow parents to stay home and accommodate their kids in school. That's no longer there. Those options don't exist anymore. If you didn't have school open, there wouldn't be the learning that we had even last time. So we have to be real careful about the options we think we still have. And if the goal is to continue doing the things that we're doing right now, it's obvious that a majority of the parents have a confidence in what we're doing because of the way we're doing it. And I think that's what we're going to continue to do. That doesn't mean that you can't find ways to improve. There's always ways we can do better. But I think we don't want to lose sight that we've been over backwards to give all parents as many options as possible. And I think it's paying off. Thank you.
Bye. Mrs. Biles?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Tillman. I actually am, really glad that you chimed in on that, because by no means am I suggesting let's close the district, right? It was just a food for thought in terms of maybe we should be looking at doing other things aside from just trying to fill in those vacancies, because it's taking quite a while. And my main concern is that children are not attending school. On the other hand, I get a little confused sometimes, like not so long ago, we were having a discussion and I was hearing, and even now, like complaints that what we're doing in terms of the protocols on COVID are not working. But then on the other end, you're saying that we're doing such a great job. And so it's just hard sometimes for me to really see, where we're at, I guess, for us in terms of, okay, I personally believe that we are doing a great job. I personally do believe that we have gone above and beyond more than many other districts have. I also believe that, this is a very, very difficult time, right? This is something that nobody has ever experienced. And in the midst of it, we're trying to, navigate. And I am very impressed with the level of commitment from all of our staff, from cabinet to, directors and teachers and, so forth. And so I just want to throw that out there because I personally get very confused when on the one hand, we're saying, there's all of these complaints, but then on the other, I just want to make sure that I'm understanding, right? And I'm following along. That was it.
And thank you, Ms. Ceballos. So again, that I just want to reiterate, because the question that you all are raising is why this got put together like this, so that, because I heard that and I heard it. And so then we said, how can we streamline? And again, we know the hour is late, but this information has to be disseminated eventually, because we know that the community either seeks to watch our meetings, and we do know that they're recorded. And so once they're recorded, they can go back and get this information. And we also sat in a lengthy town hall meeting, right? And so the town hall was to also address this, because I asked and shared that question last time, is that they needed to know the difference, because everyone is thinking we still have distance education, and we do not. And so I think we can't say it enough. This is why this is going to be here, because someone will miss it, but we got to continue until everyone knows. Taking home a packet is not as convenient either. It's a struggle, like you said, Ms. Ceballos, but this is why we're doing this. So I think we have and Ginger, hopefully you captured what we're moving, or whomever is capturing what we will add to the agenda, what we're moving off of here at this particular time. All right, so now we are at 9.0, reports and comments. Oh, I'm sorry, Dr. Menard, was there... Okay. All right, 9.0 reports and comments, beginning with 9.1 board members comments. And I will start I'm not sure where I started. I'll start to my left this time, and I will start with Ms. Ceballos. Do you have any comments?
No, it's late. Let's get out of here.
Dr. Hill, do you have any comments?
I would like to make,
Sure.
and I will keep them brief, like I know it's late. And I just want to say to my fellow board members, if you did not attend the boardmanship workshop that was put on by county schools, please try to YouTube it and look at that. A lot of good information. It doesn't have anything to do with how long you've been on the board. It's how much we remember, how much we know. And I learned an awful lot the other evening. October 6th is the designated California Clean Air Day, the annual day, and the city of San Bernardino is presenting the school district with the resolution, and I believe Ken Martinez from Ms. Antivirus's office will be there to take that. I want to say thanks to everyone who works for this district, as well as our students and our parents. It's been difficult. It would be good if we could work miracles, but we haven't figured that out yet, and I don't think we ever will. But until we do, we just have to take, when we stumble, we just have to stand up and do our best and do what's right for our kids. I didn't know, and maybe I heard it before Dr. White mentioned it this evening, about she plugged the service delivery model, and that it's going on throughout the state. So it's good to be a part of something that is good, obviously, if it's throughout the state. So, Mr. Irvin, I just want to thank you for bringing that to us and looking forward to where that takes us. But our students deserve the best, and they're in good hands right now. And to cabinet, to staff, classified and certificated, just want to say thank you so much for hanging in there. We know it gets late. We know it gets rough and tough, but just want you to know how much you appreciate it. Thank you.
Dr. Wyatt?
No comment. Thank you, Madam
All
President.
right. Ms. Rosales Medina?
No board comments today.
And Mr. Tillman?
Thank you.
All right, and so I will just mention, I think it's important to mention, again, we have had a lot of losses, as I said before, and even myself, I lost an aunt, health conditions, not COVID, but nonetheless, it's impactful when you have 3 people in a week that passed for whatever reason. And so I just want to acknowledge Todd Holt. He went to San Bernardino High School. He was Sir Knight, and just really impactful, his parents and the community, and a very, very close friend. But again, nonetheless, a cardinal passed away, and his services will be coming up, and that we want to definitely keep the family in our prayers. Also want to mention again, particularly I had mentioned before, Tanya Gaucher, which is also known as Tina, Parkside staff. I had an opportunity, I was asked to come and read a scripture at the park with the celebration of life, and the Parkside staff was there in full effect. And again, they did a wonderful job standing together, speaking. They read the husband asked them to read what he had put together about their life. And I just want to commend them because they stood together. I stood with them as well. And they did a wonderful, wonderful job. And then lastly, for capturing of one thing that came to me just recently is that we wanted to, and I know I've reached out to Superintendent Irvin and as well as to Mr. Precy, the timeline updates on modernizations. We haven't seen them in a while, and I know they're out there somewhere, and if that could be presented to us, but just clarity again. And my word is just clarity. I can't say it enough. Clarity and communication has been a resounding theme that I can't say it enough. And we don't want principals to think that people are doing things without their input. And I hope the district is not being, collaborative, which will say personally, I don't believe that's the case. I think it's clarity and communication because a lot is going on right now, and they were able to get back to me in a timely fashion. And so when we know better, we do better. And then lastly, I want to say, as all of us as board members, we took an oath of office, we raised our hand, and then we said, we were told what we needed to do. There was no timeline for me on that, right? Nobody told me. I remember when I came on this board, we had board meetings till 1:00 in the morning over it, so distance, and I thought it was the norm, but I also worked towards saying, how do we kind of shore things up over a time period? And I see, perhaps maybe it was a time frame then, and I didn't know it then, that there was a lot of things we needed to do back then, and here we are doing again. But the business is at hand, is that, everybody knows I work a job, and will sleep however many hours I sleep, and I will get up and do it on behalf of my family. But at the end of the day, no one gave me a timeline and says when I'm at a board meeting or doing my board meeting that there was a time. So I just want to say that on behalf of my comments, that I'm here for the long haul, whatever I need to do, because I believe in this district. I believe in kids. I believe in staff. I believe when we work together, we do great things. And I will never, ever shy away from that responsibility. I am all in, and I'm always available. And many people call me all the time, and I don't complain because I redirect it where it needs to go, because I believe in the jobs of what individuals are doing, what they were hired to do. I wasn't hired to do it. I was hired to govern. I was hired to, or not hired, elected for the people, to be the voice of the people, to make sure when they tell me something is not happening, to make sure I get it into the hands of the people that know. And thus far, my entire elected time being here has been doing just that. And so I just want to say there is no timeline. If board members stood with me and we had to be here till we had to be here, because when the community wakes up in the morning and if they review a tape, I want them to be able to get the information that they need. I really do, because the more we know, the better we are. Thank you. We will now move to 9.2, superintendent and staff.
Just a couple of quick things, a couple of management onboarders. Zachary Peters, Vice Principal, San Gorgonio High School. Texas Costa, Director, Multilingual Program, Secondary. And then Lester Ojeda, Director, Multilingual Program. Thank you.
Okay. All right, we're now moving to action items. 10 point. Did I see? Okay, yeah, I'm right. Did I skip? Okay. 10.1, approval of the personnel report number 6 dated September 21st, 2021, which contains actions such as hiring, retirements, resignations, promotion, and terminations.
So moved.
Oh, he said, okay, right.
As
As presented, and then
So moved.
I heard,
I'll second it.
okay. Did you capture the, Ms. Rosales Medina? All right. Is there any further discussion? No? Okay. If not, we will vote.
Ms. Bios, I don't have yours.
Nothing's on my screen. Yay. Aye.
All right. Motion carried. And 10.2, district appropriations limit calculations for fiscal year 2020, 2021, business services.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and second. Is there any further discussion? If not, let's vote.
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you. 10.3, public disclosure of proposed Communication Workers of America bargaining agreement, business services.
So moved.
It's been moved in second. If there is no further discussion, then let's vote.
Aye.
Margaret Hill, aye. Nothing showed up here either.
All right, motion carried. Thank you. 10.4, CalSTRS exemption to the separation from service requirement. Denise Adams, HR.
So moved.
Has been moved in second. Is there any further discussion? If not, let's vote.
Myra, aye.
Margaret Hill, aye.
Motion carried. Thank you. And now we're 11.0, consent items.
So moved.
Second.
Or it's been moved in second. Is there any items to pull? If not, let's vote.
Aye.
Myra, aye.
Motion carried. Thank you. We are now at 12.1 or 12.0, review of board requests. 12.1, staff review items and requests.
Good evening, board, or morning, board. So I captured a few. So Dr. Barbara Flores asked how the $15 million in expenditures shifted from the general fund to the SNC were allocated. Dr. Barbara Flores asked about some more information or clarity on the cap on benefits. Dr. Barbara Flores asked that unions be involved in planning how the testing protocols will roll out. Dr. Barbara Flores also asked what the low vaccination rates are within our community. Dr. Barbara Flores asked that we would consider conducting an audit for our COVID protocols. Ms. Abigail Rosales Medina and Dr. Gwen Rogers both asked about the students on the waiting list and how many of them might not be attending school and how we might accommodate their specific needs. Ms. Abigail Rosales Medina asked what the plan was to address the interest list. Ms. Myra Ceballos asked that we consider increasing communication district-wide to make sure that families understand the virtual academy experience. And then I may have missed a specific request that you made after that. So if there was one that you recall, please let me know. Dr. Barbara Flores then asked that we suspend the presentation and bring back the college and career, the STEAM, and the service delivery model updates at the next meeting. And then Dr. Gwen Rogers asked for a timeline on modernizations of our schools.
I think it was just,
I think we captured everything. I'm not seeing anything. All right. I'm sorry.
Hold on.
Did you say?
Yeah, I think it was just having that discussion about, in addition to the hiring, what else, could we potentially look at to make sure that our students are not just at home.
Okay, I'm not seeing any other lights. All right, we are now at 13.0 closing. 13.1 adjournment.
Moved.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. You will be able to review the tape again, but thank you for your time and your patience, and God bless you.